mornings from 3 to 6. It's time to get up and get your day started. It's Sports 56 mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday to you. What was a pretty quiet night in the world of sports, especially locally and regionally, will not be the same tonight. Tonight's going to be a busy night with the Memphis Tigers in action, the Memphis Grizzlies in action. We're here to talk about it on this Friday, March 7th, 2025. A little thing we call Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, it's where family and fun come together, maybe this weekend. If you haven't stopped by yet, you can stop by and check out their first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio event. It's going on right now with pools from $19.99, spas from $29.99. When you stop in, register to win either a free pool, spa, or patio set. So stop by and register today. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. That's Family Leisure. Currently, it's cloudy and 45 degrees. It will get up to about 67 today, but the clouds will hang around. There is the possibility of a passing rain shower, not some all-day affair, and some high wind gusts once again. Tonight, partly cloudy, 46 degrees, with a slight chance of a rain shower, but a 19% chance, according to the forecast. And then for your Saturday, looks to be cloudy, 56 degrees, and about a 25% chance of precipitation. As I said, tonight's going to be busy with the Tigers in action. The Tigers with a win tonight over South Florida on senior night at FedEx Forum. The final game of the regular season can clinch outright the American Conference Championship. They already share at least a part of that. North Texas winning last night staved off elimination, if you will. And then the Grizzlies tonight trying to end a 4-game losing streak as they'll take on the battered and bruised Dallas Mavericks, who, from an injury standpoint, are in a very bad position. So tonight, you hope the Grizzlies can get well at the expense of the Mavs. We will talk about that game. We'll talk about what happened in college hoops last night and in the NBA last night. Also, I don't know what it was yesterday, something in the water. A lot of big names, a lot of big figures out there in the sports world coming out and just, I don't know, letting things fly. From Charles Barkley to Mark Cuban to LeBron James. All coming out and having things to get off their chest, and they did. We got more NFL news as there continues to be some surprising cuts as teams do a little cost-cutting right now as they get ready for free agency, which begins on Monday, and the impending NFL draft. John Varlas joins us at 7:25 as he does each and every Friday. He'll join us from Cookeville. Got the Division II state basketball tournament going on. A couple of local teams involved, so we'll talk to John about that and everything else that's going on in the world of preps. Matt Dillon at 8:25 with the Tiger Basketball Report. And 10 in a row returns. The game show that has swept the nation. Give you a chance to win a great prize package later on in the show. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's going on?
I'm ready to spring ahead this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Spring ahead so we lose an hour of sleep. Which one is it you like? You like that one, right? You don't like when we change the clock in the fall, correct?
Yes, I'm hoping that I would love for this, once we spring ahead, to be done changing our clocks for eternity.
You know, it's interesting. I like having the extra hour of daylight. Everybody does. But I hate the fact that instead of driving to work where the sun is coming up and there's a little bit of daylight most of the time, unless it's a real cloudy day and it's dark, it'll be pitch dark. I hate that. I hate driving to work in pitch darkness, which we do now once the clock changes. But you get that
for
extra.
a little while, and then it gets to daylight.
Right, because of the summer and all that. But the fact that we have that extra hour of sunlight and then it gets longer, the days get longer. I mean, there was nothing like growing up on the East Coast and it was like it was almost 9 o'clock, and like finally the sun was down. So you can go out there and play outside. That's a concept for kids today, playing outside. And you do that all the way till 8:45, 9 o'clock before you head home. It was fantastic. So, yeah, spring ahead. Do what you got to do.
So overnight Saturday night. Remember, folks, to spring ahead. Otherwise, you're going to be showing up late for things.
Yeah, I don't have to get up early, I don't believe, on Sunday, so that's pretty good. I get sleep in a little bit. Memphis Tigers baseball, by the way, they open up a 3-game series today against Southeastern Louisiana. That's Matt Reiser's former team, where he had a lot of success, 4 NCAA regional appearances in 10 years there. That'll kick off today at 4:05 with the first game of the series. If you can't make it out there, I'll have that game for you on ESPN Plus. I'll be on the call that game. But you can do the double dip. You can go to the baseball game and then head over to FedEx Forum to watch the Tigers. And speaking of the Tigers, as I mentioned, North Texas. Oh, before we do that, Elijah Seegers, how are you, my friend? Didn't mean to pass you up here.
You're all good, Greg. I'm feeling good. Yesterday was pretty dry, like you said, but tonight is looking to make up for it. So I'm excited for all that we've got ahead tonight.
Was last night a let's make up some, maybe we're behind on some shows outside of the sports world? Is that what we did last night?
See, I thought it might be, but then that Knicks-Lakers late-night game kind of reeled me in. So it was well worth it, though.
Well, I understand completely. Yeah, I was watching a little bit of that, but I caught up with some of my series that I've fallen behind on. So that's what I used last night for without the Tigers and the Grizzlies in action. But I did keep an eye on what was happening with North Texas because obviously Memphis needs only a North Texas loss or a win tonight to clinch outright the American Conference regular season title. We had Penny Hardaway on the show yesterday, who was terrific, had a lot of interesting things to say about this year's team and last year's team. But North Texas, as expected, did win 75-64 over Charlotte. So North Texas will play at Temple on Sunday. Probably a moot point as far as the outright championship because all Memphis has to do is win tonight. If somehow they lose tonight, it'll be devastating because of the seeding in the NCAA tournament. You'll get hit by that, and then you may not be able to win the title outright. If North Texas wins against Temple on Sunday, you would share. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to take care of business tonight. But for North Texas, they nailed down, I guess, the 2 seed. I don't think they've clinched yet, have they, Eli? They're a game up right now on UAB. But if they just win Sunday, they're the 2 seed. Just they can take care of it themselves.
Yeah, I don't know if them and UAB end up in a tie because they split their 2 games against each other, if I remember correctly. So I don't know what that tiebreaker between them would be.
And we're talking about the top 4 get first-round buys, correct? Or not? How does that work?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now you have Memphis, North Texas, UAB, and then Tulane. Tulane is up a game on East Carolina. So I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I know that's the standings. Memphis wrapping up their regular season tonight, as we talked about, kind of an odd deal. They're playing on a Friday night. And then the rest of the teams are playing, what, Sunday? Or is it staggered with Saturday as well?
I think it's all Sunday because most of them played last night. I think they're playing Sunday.
Yeah, the schedule's just strange. Let's see. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No games on Saturday. Then you have 5 on Sunday, including that North Texas at Temple game. Tulane hosts UAB, so that could be interesting. East Carolina plays at Florida Atlantic. So I'm not sure what would happen if they were tied for that 4th spot, East Carolina and Tulane, and how it would go as far as first-round buys in the American tournament. But tonight, there will be, we believe, 5 players that will be honored as playing their final game for Memphis. I know Penny had said 6 yesterday, and he couldn't think of the 6th, but we did not come up with a 6th, so I think he just misspoke. But 5 tonight that will be honored. 8 o'clock tip-off. You know, this has been a very, very, very good year, an incredibly good bounce-back year. And I hope that the crowd, the crowd that's there is going to be appreciative. They have, I'm sure, enjoyed this season to this point. But I hope there'll be more people than we've had in recent games. The crowds have just not been there for whatever reason. I hope they'll be there to honor this team. Again, Penny said on the show that this team, above all his teams, and they have, from a local standpoint, only Dink Yates has a local connection. Is that correct? As far as the players are concerned? There's nobody else, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Don't believe so.
But did he not say that he thought that this team embraced the city, the culture, the history of the program better than any of his teams? And he said teams, obviously, with more players, with Memphis ties or regional ties. So hopefully,
Cisse, Musa.
That's right. That's right. Musa went to school here. Not from here originally, but yeah, went to Lausanne. So hopefully the folks will come out there to show their appreciation. And if the Tigers go and win the 3 next week, which they should, they'll be favored too, it won't be a cakewalk. Don't expect blowout wins. That's just not happened for the most part. There's been a few. And North Texas, with their contrasting style, if it's a matchup with Memphis, that'd be interesting. But you're expected to take care of business. You're the 16th ranked team in the country. And if you do, as bracketologists have said on our show this week, Kerry Miller, Jerry Palm, others, that more than likely Memphis finishes as a 6th seed. That's where they would be for the tournament. But we've had bracketologists throw them in the 7th spot, in the 8th seed line. Penny Hardaway, I asked him point blank where they should be with that resume. And he said, we should be a 5. Said, I'm not going to say anything higher. We had those losses. We lost to Temple. We lost to Wichita State. Lost also to Arkansas State. So he understands. I don't think he's being greedy. I think he's being pretty accurate that you can make that argument that with that resume, they should probably be there. They're probably not going to be there. And that's unfortunate. 6, I guess, is acceptable for everything that's going on. 7th or less, if they win the rest of their games, that would be a debate. That would be a nice little argument, back and forth type thing. Because Memphis is going to be one of the... Jerry Palm has said it several times now. He believes that they will be underseeded. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. That's a week from Sunday, which is championship day in the American. How much of a difference does that make? Well, if Memphis loses, there's a team that's added to the field, and they would have to have the contingency plan of taking out a team, which they will. They will have that just in case that happens. Also last night, it was East Carolina knocking off Tulane, 73-64. So you got that. UAB 89, Florida Atlantic 80, and Wichita State 63, Rice 59. So with that East Carolina win, if they end up tied, if that's the only time they played, they would get that 4th bye in the first round of the tournament.
I believe, from what I could tell here, trying to look quickly at this, I believe North Texas does have the tiebreaker on UAB. So I believe North Texas has secured the number 2 seed, if I am correct. Well, their win over East Carolina would secure them that tiebreaker.
Okay, and if you are correct, that means Memphis and North Texas couldn't meet before the championship game.
Well, if they're the 3 seed, they couldn't either, so it doesn't really matter, 2-3.
Oh, that's right, 2-3-1-4, yeah. You're absolutely right. So, tonight, 8 o'clock, I mean, not much more you can say. Memphis should take care of business. South Florida is a mediocre team. I would think that they're going to be dialed in a lot better than they were against UTSA, taking nothing away from that game. Penny did say that he felt a lot of the sluggishness and sloppiness, more sloppiness than sluggishness, but it was sluggish at the beginning of the game, was because of the quick turnaround and had to go right from Birmingham and obviously the euphoria of beating UAB again. You could accept that to a certain degree, but 22 turnovers, he said, you won't see that again. Every time Penny has said something like, we won't do this the next time, he's right. He's been right every time. That's why I talk about the way they battle back from adversity. They lose a game, always bounce back and win a game. Or they play a bad first half, they come back and play a strong second half. It's very weird. Now, you can't afford that in the tournament. Maybe, depending on your opponent, your first round game. But after that, you have to play 40 minutes of really good basketball. And even at that, it may not be enough.
The Tigers, obviously, USF's one of the teams that they were able to handle pretty easily down at USF. And it's a USF team that has lost 6 of their last 7. coming into this one, including that Memphis game. Their only win over UTSA in their last 7 games. So they're 6-11 in conference play. That, yes, on your home floor, on senior night, you would hope that you could dispose of them properly.
Absolutely. And then, of course, aside from what's going on with Memphis and the American Conference, you have a very busy Saturday in the SEC, the final games of the regular season before next week's tournament. And I'm sure there's a number of things still to be decided. Those games include Arkansas hosting Mississippi State. Arkansas looks to be on the good side right now of the bubble. This would solidly, I don't think any question, put them in. Even if they bailed in the first round of the tournament. Would you agree?
I think it would be, they'd have a good chance, but
take nothing for granted. Right?
I wouldn't recommend them going down and losing in their first game of the SEC tournament.
Number 19, Kentucky at number 15, Missouri on Saturday. Vandy plays at Georgia. Tennessee hosts South Carolina. Alabama and Auburn. Showdown, part 2. Alabama, number 7. Auburn, number 1. Auburn won in Tuscaloosa earlier this season. That should be an interesting game. Alabama's lost 4 of their last 6. And they're a heavy underdog. Auburn favored by 8.5. Texas A&M, number 22 ranked at LSU. Oklahoma at Texas. We look at that one as probably a de facto tournament game. Loser go home. Of course, depending on what happens in the SEC tournament, if they win it.
Yeah, the loser, some people have both of them right on the outside as it is. But, yeah, I would say the loser is going to need some serious help in Nashville.
And then Ole Miss travels to Gainesville to take on Florida. That's a tall task. Ole Miss coming off the huge win over Tennessee. I'm not going to doubt Ole Miss. I don't think they win this game, but I'm not going to doubt Ole Miss. I just can't. Every single time I think they're going to lose a game, they win it. They somehow figure it out. And again, that game against Tennessee, and you illustrated it yesterday with the stats that favored Tennessee in so many different categories, except for the most important one.
Yeah, obviously, a big emotional win now going down to Florida. Anytime you're playing in another building on senior day, it's always difficult, as Tennessee found out at Ole Miss. You get these emotional games, and certainly Florida has a lot to play for with a chance to be a number 1 seed. So you would think that they would come out, play well on their senior day, and with that on the line. And, it's going to be a very tough task for Ole Miss because Florida is playing some great basketball right now.
There was another coaching announcement yesterday as Utah has decided to go with an old, reliable, familiar legend of the basketball program, Alex Jensen, who was the Mountain Conference Player of the Year back in 2000 when Utah, of course, was part of the Mountain West Conference, Mountain West, I should say. He has been named the head coach. He has been with the Dallas Mavericks as an assistant. So Jensen will take over his alma mater as the Utah Utes' new coach. We mentioned yesterday that Jay Lucas is going from Duke to Miami to take over the Hurricanes program. So quick decisions made by those two schools in getting the replacement for the former coaches, obviously at Miami, Jim Larinaga, before he stepped down.
Well, if imitation is indeed the sincerest form of flattery, then Utah and with their friends at BYU, it's very interesting that BYU goes and hires an NBA assistant coach. He comes in, he has success. Utah fires their coach, goes and hires an NBA assistant coach to become their new head coach. They say, hey, wait, it's working for the guys down the street. How about we try this whole NBA assistant route and see how that goes for us?
Why not? Jensen played for the late great Rick Majerus at Utah when Utah was a Was it Dan Power?
I will
Keith Van Horn, all those guys?
I will give this advice to Utah. If you want to truly copy BYU, you probably should find the NIL money that they're throwing around.
Yes.
I don't know that it's just the NBA assistant coach that's the secret. Probably the NIL money has a little bit more to do with it. But hey, do what you got to do. Try everything you can. But I would lean more towards the NIL than where the assistant coach comes from.
Jenkins Floors and More specializes in flooring and carpeting. It is a great local family-owned and operated business that's located at 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake, Mississippi. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock, Arkansas. Again, flooring, carpeting, ceramic and porcelain tiles, all types, SPC and WPC vinyls, backsplashes for your kitchens and bathrooms, plantation shutters and blinds, and so much more. And look, they sell it wholesale, so they're going to save you lots of money. You may get some decent deals in the big box stores, but you're not going to get that one-on-one, which is what you want from wherever and whatever business you're dealing with. Jenkins Floors and More, again, is that family-owned and operated business that's going to make sure that the job is done and it is done right. They can get that job done in 2 weeks. That's their promise to you. They'll come to you. So call them and say, listen, we're looking at we want to put new carpeting into our home or into our business. We want new flooring. They'll come to you. They'll bring you the samples. They'll show you what it will look like. Wherever you are, they'll come to you, and then you go with them. After you get the price, yeah, we're going to go with you. 2 weeks. The job will be done. Why wouldn't you call Jenkins Floors and More? It just doesn't make sense if you're going somewhere else. 2356 Goodman Road. You could stop by, see them yourself, tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings, or give them a call at 662-469-9350. If you're just picking up the material and doing it yourself, or if you need Jenkins to do it for you, it makes sense to go with Jenkins Floors and More. Financing is available. Military, first responders, 10% off. And Sports 56 listeners out there, ask about your family discount. Great family, great service, just terrific people that do great work. They're open Monday through Saturday. It's Jenkins Floors and More. When we come back, we'll head to Cookeville. That's where John Varlos is. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
You're hungry for good meat, plus the family that has been feeding you since 1967. Charlie Hogan, Triangle Meat Company. Trust Triangle Meat for fresh beef, hamburger, and roast. Trust Triangle Meat for delicious pork ribs, chops, and butter. And trust Triangle Meat for chicken and roll run. Feeding lots of pork, Triangle Meat Company has all the meat you need. Shop Triangle Meat Company, 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday, 4790 Summer Avenue, 901-683-1192. Fresh or frozen, big or small, trust Triangle Meat Company.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family. Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. It's been a challenge in Millington this morning. The fire department's had their hands full battling an abandoned house. At one point, they had it closed on 51 at Rust Road. Now they got one lane open, but again, it caught a lot of people off guard this morning. They're on 51 in Millington at Rust Road. What a mess that's been all morning long. Traffic's on the increase 40 west coming past Germantown Parkway. Weimer's Jewelry serving Memphis now for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, you'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome back. 7:25 is the time. Greg, Eli, and Elijah with you from the Family Leisure Studios. And now time to talk with John Varlas.
It's time for Greg and Eli's weekly visit with John Varlas on Daily. Check out John's prep sports coverage and much more at DailyMemphian.com. John is brought to you by Shoot 360 Memphis, where the pros and preps go to get their shot on Shoot 360 Memphis. Now here's John Varlas with Greg and Eli.
John Varlas is the award-winning prep reporter for the Daily Memphian, but so much more. And he joins us today from beautiful Cookeville, Tennessee, site of the D2 state basketball tournament with St. George's and Briarcrest competing. And John, good morning to you. John is brought to you by Shoot 360 Memphis.
Good morning. Yes, Shoot 360 Memphis, two great locations to serve. The original location in Collierville there on Market Street and the one that opened last summer there on Cordova. Two wonderful facilities, same great people in charge of both, and you can call them up if you're interested. Your mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or anybody with a young basketball player in your life and you're interested in helping that player get better at the game of basketball, call Shoot 360 Memphis. Get you some lessons, get in there, get the great training they have, and get all the access to the wonderful technology they have to help you get better at the game of basketball. It's technology developed by really knowledgeable, smart basketball folks, and it's been used for a long time by some very, very big names, including the biggest of all right now, Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, arguably the greatest shooter in NBA history. So if you want access to that same level of technology and learning, you can get with Shoot 360 Memphis in Collierville, 901-316-5500, and in Cordova, 901-779-3176. They will get you right at Shoot 360 Memphis.
All right, John, before we dive into the games that are coming up, the games you're covering, and everything else that's going on in preps around the area, we like to ask you each and every Friday to get something off your chest because things build up over a week-long period. So what do you got for us? What bone would you like to pick this morning?
Well, the only bone I have to pick today, guys, is I don't have enough time with you to get to all the great stuff that's been going on this week. We got all playoff basketball all over the place. Spring sports are off to a wonderful start with some really great baseball this week, and we had a pretty significant rule change from the TSSAA earlier this week. So I'm at my wit's end trying to figure out how to cram all this into a 30-minute segment. You give Brandon Lang an entire hour, and I get 30 minutes to get all this good news out there. So I guess that's my bone. I want equal time.
You mentioned the rule change. We talked a little bit about this last week, that it was going to be voted on, but that is the transfer rule. And they did approve this rule where you can transfer without penalty as long as it's not for athletic reasons. And you wrote about this, and we talked about it, that rules like this probably are going to get abused, or at least people will make the attempt to abuse this rule.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right, Eli. I mean, in fact, it's from hearing things rumbling under the surface, I think it's actually started. It's going to be very difficult to prove that something is not for athletic reasons, honestly. And like we talked about last week, there's lots of ways you can kind of cloak it and and cases that you can bring up and say, well, I feel this, or I think my future is better served elsewhere because of this, and it's not technically for athletic reasons, but really it is. I mean, I admire the TSSAA for trying to stay ahead of the curve and do something. They feel change is inevitable, and I admire them for trying to stay ahead of the curve and try to do what they think is right. But I think it's a situation, Eli, where for every legit transfer that is for academic reason, or that academic or social well-being or mental health issues, I think for every transfer that is for one of those reasons, I think there's going to be several more that aren't, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the future of high school sports in Tennessee. I'm concerned for some of the programs around the state, particularly in our area, the smaller programs in particular that are kind of struggling to hang on as it is right now, numbers-wise. I'm just concerned. I'm worried about how things are going to look going forward, and hopefully they'll all work out. But I am concerned.
Why don't they just be honest? Why don't they just be honest and just say point blank, you get a one-time transfer rule, whatever it is. Look, if your mind, your health, your well-being is not good at this one school, we're going to give you the opportunity to move on to another school. Okay, that's fine. If it's from an academic standpoint, you don't feel good at that school, you want to go to this other school. Okay, that's fine as well. Well, you don't like the baseball program there? You want to go to the baseball program somewhere else? Just go. One-time blanket. Just admit what it is, because it's ridiculous to lie through their teeth.
Well, I hear you, Greg, and a lot of coaches were favoritive, and a lot of the coaches that I've spoken to would have preferred to do exactly what you said. But I think you have to at least make an attempt to have some sort of guardrails. Otherwise, you're the NCAA, and it's essentially what the NCAA is right now, which is unlimited movement and basically free agency. Throw out the money aspect of it in high school, obviously.
Right.
So you can't have that. You have to have some sort of guardrails. I hear what you're saying, and a lot of people agree with you, Greg. But this is, I guess, a compromise to a situation that really doesn't have a good, easy answer. And having said all that, Greg, if the TSSAA legislature comes back and passes a state law that says you can do exactly what you said, then that might well override anything the TSSAA does anyway. So this isn't a settled situation yet by any means.
Yeah, I was going to say, so there is still a bill right in the House that could change this anyway.
Exactly, Eli. Yeah, you're right. If the TSSAA passes something similar to what Greg was just now talking about, this whole conversation is moot anyway.
Not the TSSAA passes, the Tennessee.
The legislature. Yeah, I misspoke. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, if the legislature passes it, that overrides it, and it's like Greg said, and all this conversation that we've just had is moot anyway.
Right.
So I'm really hoping that doesn't happen, because like I said, these legislator folks, they just don't know. They really don't know the margins that some of these programs are operating with, numbers wise and resources wise. I mean, Eli, you see it. People come to Christian Brothers for football games, and they've got 20 kids on the team, and it's and they're struggling, and we see that a lot around the state. It's just really tough, and you take the best 5 or 6 guys off those teams, well, you don't have a team anymore.
It's it reminds me when I was growing up, Chicago King, at that time, and I don't know if it still is, but in the city of Chicago, amongst the public schools, you could go to whatever school you wanted as long as they had a program, an academic program that the school you should be going to didn't have.
Yes, I've heard that before.
And so
Exactly.
Chicago King had, I don't remember what the class was, but it was a class that no other school in Chicago had. And it just so happened that all of the really good basketball players in Chicago really wanted that class. It was amazing. Now every basketball player seemingly wanted to play or wanted that class so badly that they would pass over all these other schools to end up at Chicago King, and Sonny Cox, who was the coach there, put together these unbelievable teams just because they had this. It was really amazing that they had that program.
Did it have anything to do with weaving and baskets? Were they involved?
I can't remember what the class was that they had, but it was and they put together some unbelievable teams based on that thing.
So, Eli, what you're saying is there should be a lot of really tall air-conditioned repairmen around the Chicago area right now, right?
Yes, that is correct.
John Varlas joining us from Cookeville on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest lines. He's brought to you by Shoot 360 Memphis. All right, you're there for the D2 state tournament. Give everybody an update on what's going on.
Yes, sir. We had the smaller semifinals last night, and a really good season for St. George's came to an end. Young team, first time for the school in the state tournament since 2017, and what a job by D. Wilkes, the coach over there. As you guys know, and as we reported in the Daily Memphian, and had a good story on Coach Wilkes this week. He coached FACS to the state championship last year. He coached FACS to the state championship in 2022, so 2 titles in 3 years, and then he makes the move to St. George's this year. And and it's based on my research, guys. He's the first coach ever in the history of Shelby County to go to state back-to-back with 2 different teams in consecutive years. So a lot of coaches have taken, multiple teams to the state tournament, but not in consecutive years. So I think Coach Wilkes made a little bit of history this year. Unfortunately, I think they ran out of gas a little bit in the second half last night against Battleground Academy. They started really well. First half was, about as good as, it could have went for them. But, they ran out of gas, ended up losing by 19 points. So disappointing loss, but a lot to build on in the future for a young St. George's program. I mean, they only had three seniors that played yesterday. Basically the whole team played because they cleared the bench at the end, and only 3 seniors played. So the future is really bright for that group over there. So keep an eye on St. George's and what Coach Wilkes has in store for that program going forward. They have a chance to really be special, and maybe as early as next season.
And today is Briarcrest, is that correct?
Today is Briarcrest against Montgomery Bell Academy. Excuse me, the defending state champs are back. They beat Chattanooga Baylor on Saturday, played a really good game. So, yeah, Fred Smith, the Mr. Basketball finalist, everybody knows about him. But this team, Eli, is not just Fred Smith. Obviously, he's the best player and the man, everybody's going to want to see today. But, Landon Rogers, Parker Pounds, these are 2 guys that can, shoot the ball. They're long and athletic defenders. Daniel Tolles inside is a rebounder and a kind of a glue guy and a scrapper and does the dirty work kind of guy. So it's a good talented team from top to bottom. Led by arguably the best player in Memphis. Fred Smith. Just a tremendously skilled basketball player who really has a bright future ahead of him. So yeah, Briarcrest today at 1:30 against Montgomery Bell Academy, and I definitely think Briarcrest has a chance to advance back to the finals. I mean, this is kind of the matchup. The matchup kind of fell in their favor. Montgomery Bell Academy upset Pope John Paul on Saturday, so today's game could have been a lot tougher for Briarcrest. So hopefully I know they'll be ready, and hopefully they'll do well, and hopefully they can get back to the final.
John, what about the girls in D2?
No girls qualified, Greg, so
no
short
girls.
answer there. Yeah.
No girls qualified. All right, so
Yeah.
what else is happening as far as D1 and the public schools and where we stand with things?
Well, the tomorrow night, the D1 girls will play their sectional games. So the winners will go to state. Bartlett beat Whitehaven the other night, so Bartlett is going to host a sectional game tomorrow night. Whitehaven has to travel tomorrow night, and the winners of those games will go to state. Memphis Business Academy also, congratulations to those girls. They are one victory away from their first trip to the state tournament. So Memphis Business Academy is going to be at home, and I say they're going to be at home. They're not going to be able to play in their home gym, unfortunately, because it's too small. So they're going to be at home somewhere else, and unfortunately, I don't know where that is right now. But they'll be at home too, and they've got a chance to advance to state as well if they if they win for the first, it'll be the first time for them. So lots of excitement on the girls' side. Huge night tomorrow night for girls hoops.
So they're going to Airbnb a gym somewhere.
Eli, I know you've seen these gyms growing up in the Midwest where you can, sit on the floor and put your feet on the floor if you're in the front row. These little bandboxes.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they got over there at Memphis Business Academy, and it's a real fun. I mean, fun's maybe not the right word. It's a really loud environment for a regular season game because they bring the band in there and the sound just reverberates off the walls, and it's just really loud and tremendous home court advantage. But unfortunately for them, they'll have to go someplace else for their game.
There's also the gyms, and I played in one when I was young, that you barely can walk between the wall and the baseline of the actual court to walk to the other side. In other words, if you're running full force, you're running into that wall. You may not be smashing it with your head, but you're having to put your hands up to block yourself. There's just no room. And I think there's a lot of gyms like that, and they're certainly tough for athletes as they get older and bigger and stronger. It's impossible to stop your momentum. What about D1 boys?
Well, same schedule for the D1 boys, except they're going to play their sectional games on Monday, and we got. I mean, Greg, we've still got 9 teams from our area in the running to go to state. We've got Whitehaven and East in 4A boys, in 3A boys. Kirby is still alive. Munford is still alive. Munford is going to host the sectional, and Kirby is going to travel to play Fayette Ware on Monday night. 2A boys, Memphis Business Academy again. Same situation as the girls. They're going to host, but they're going to have to find a different gym to do it in. They beat Fairleigh for the regional championship last night. Really impressive victory. I was not surprised they won because they're a good team, but the margin, 76-60, did surprise me a little bit. So congrats to Larry Benson and Tariq White and those guys over at Memphis Business. Great season, and they're one win away from their first trip to the state tournament. And then in the Class 1A, Hillcrest is going to be at home. They beat Mace, so Mace will have to travel to, I believe, Humboldt. I think Mace is going to host Middleton, and Hillcrest is going to host Middleton, and Mace is going to travel to Humboldt, and the winners there go to state. So 9 teams on the boys' side still alive, and certainly you think a few of those are going to make it through to state, and we'll have a big representation in Murfreesboro in 2 weeks for the boys' tournament, just like we usually do.
Man, the businessmen and women over there have a hell of a year.
They're all business, Eli, and let me just take this time too to give a shout out to the people running the athletic department over there. I mean, this is a new school. It was only founded 10 years ago, and the success the athletic department is having. The boys soccer team, they've already been to the state tournament, multiple times. The basketball teams we just mentioned, one win away from the state tournament for each team, boys and girls. The football team, they've advanced to the quarterfinals in each of the last 2 seasons. They're just doing a tremendous job with their athletics across the board, and it's Coach Jerry Anthony over there has a lot to do with that, and he's got his hands in all the pies over there. But it's everybody. It's the administrators, it's the parents, the principal, the kids, the board over there. I mean, everybody is really all in on athletics, and they're doing a tremendous job building the program from ground up. A lot of people can look at what they're doing and probably take some good lessons from it.
Man, it's very interesting to hear some of these names that are playing so well in basketball, because I remember my years in television here in Memphis, and the cast of characters were Hamilton and Ridgeway and White Station, and you still have teams like Briarcrest that was always good, but it's a lot of different names and a lot of schools that weren't even in existence when I actually was in television. So it's nice to see different teams and their success in sports, specifically here in basketball.
It really is, Eli, Greg, and and some old names too. For Kirby, for example, they're going to Fayette Ware Monday night. If they can somehow find a way to beat Fayette Ware, it'll be their first trip to state since 1986.
Wow.
Fairleigh hasn't been to the state tournament since 1995. Munford hasn't. I looked this up last night. Munford has been to the state tournament one time in their history, and that was 95 years ago. So I mean, that was, that.
Did you cover that one?
No, Larry Ray might have covered that one actually, but
wow, shots fired by Varlas.
No, that wasn't a shot. Larry's my friend, but he's much older than I am.
Oh, it's funny. That was funny.
No, that wasn't a shot. Please don't think it was. I'm just kidding around because Larry's a little older, but no, 1930. I mean, that was. I mean, can you imagine 95 years between your state tournament appearances?
Holy smokes! Once every century you get in there. So
yeah, and this actually surprised me because they've had some really good teams in the past, but Hillcrest has actually never made a state tournament, and that really surprised me. They've had some good players down through the years. Guys like Dorian Davis, who played for Memphis State, and Leroy Carter, who went out to Colorado and had a really good career. They've never been to the state tournament, so yeah, Greg, you mentioned the newer schools like Memphis Business and Mace. They're doing well, but it's good to see some of these more traditional, high schools as well getting back in the mix too this year. It's interesting. It's been a real interesting season, and the state tournament is going to be every bit as interesting, I think.
Somebody once said, "Variety is the spice of life." We will take a quick time out. More with John Varlas, who's joining us from Cookeville. We'll talk about the spring sports that are underway with baseball, softball, and the like. John Varlas, we continue with him from the Daily Memphian in just a moment. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56.
Andy Wise here. I'm an actual customer of Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis in the Mid-South. I was so impressed, I endorsed Pella as the standard in affordable luxury. And now, Pella's even more affordable. 12 months, no interest, no payments, plus 50% off installation. Mention you heard this on the radio and get another $500 off. I'm telling you, as your consumer investigator, as their customer, make the wise choice of Pella Windows and Doors of Memphis in the Mid-South.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue six-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're going to be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside
Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WOW25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WOW25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WOW25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code WOW25.
All aboard, football fans! The Memphis Showboats are back in action with more of the football you love. Join the Showboats at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium March 30th for the opening weekend of the 2025 UFL season as the boats take on the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is 11 a.m. Head to UFLShowboats.com now to get your tickets and get more of the touchdown celebrating, high-fiving, bell-ringing action you love. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats!
Now, back to Sports 56 Morning. On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everybody. 7:50 the time. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers, and John Varlas joining us from Cookeville today. He's there for the D2 State Tournament. He's brought to you each and every week by the folks at Shoot 360 Memphis.
John, you bringing up those gyms had me thinking about my favorite gym I've ever played in, which had which the floor was carpet, and also in two of the corners of the court were actually cut off by the wall. Like there wasn't the corner. The lines did not meet in the corner. There was a chunk of it taken out because of the wall that was there, and that was but you talk about a quiet basketball game. Play on carpet, and you don't hear the ball bouncing, you don't hear shoes squeaking, and that just kills the noise to begin with. It's unbelievable how much quieter a game is played on carpet.
Was that in like a church gym or some kind of religion?
It was in a high school gym.
Regular high school gym with carpet? Mm-hmm. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Eli. There was actually a video floating around on social media a few days ago of some kids playing a game somewhere in a gym, and the floor was carpeted. And I that was the first for me. I had never seen that before, the carpeted floor, but the small, the small boundaries and all the confined spaces. I mean, I'm very familiar with that. We used to play basketball, kind of pickup basketball. We had a group from the Commercial Appeal, and we would play at St. Mary's sometimes before they renovated things, and it was a little tiny thing of a gym. I mean, those tiny gyms, when you got fans in there and it gets loud, and it's a tremendous home court advantage. And it's just the Memphis Business Academy. Their setup is just really interesting. I mean, their campus used to be a department store out there in Fraser. So it's just a really good story. I mean, they've just really transformed things. But yeah, those old gyms are fun and special to think about.
For anybody who's going to carpet their gym, please get your carpeting from Jenkins Floors and More. All right, so John, what's going on now with spring ball?
Well, spring sports are officially underway in Tennessee. That means baseball, softball, tennis, track and field, soccer for boys, lacrosse, which is not new in our area, but it is newly sanctioned this season. So this is the first season that lacrosse is a TSSAA sport, and brand new on the docket this year is flag football for girls. And I want to say the first game in Shelby County was a couple of days ago, and the Collierville Dragons defeated Whitehaven 18-6 in the very first flag football game in Memphis. So congrats to Collierville and congrats to Whitehaven for bringing in a new era of sports here in Shelby County with flag football on the girls' side.
Somebody had texted in on the Sissy's Log Campus line, wanting us to ask you about the Christian Brothers Houston baseball game. They said there's 3 or 4 SEC commitments, the top catcher in the nation for the 27 class. Crazy baseball talent around here, they say.
There's no doubt, and I was certainly going to mention them. So those two teams opened the season on Monday, and Houston got the better of the brothers. They won 12-2. One of those guys, the the texter mentioned, Chandler Day, the quarterback for Houston. He was on the hill, and he pitched a great game. And then the other two players he's referring to for Houston, Ryan Mitchell, who's actually committed to Georgia Tech, he hit a home run, and then Colin Bland, Houston's first baseman, hit a home run that I think just landed probably a few hours ago. I mean, he got all of that one based on the video. So yeah, three guys for Houston. Those are, three really talented guys. They might even have a chance to be drafted. I haven't had a chance to catch up with Houston baseball yet because basketball's going on. But Chandler Day, Colin Bland, Ryan Mitchell, those guys are super special. And then the catcher for Christian Brothers, Will Brick, sophomore.
Great name for a catcher.
Well, and he's one of the best catchers, one of the best high school catchers in the country, hands down. I mean, he's got the potential to be, one of the all-time great baseball players coming out of Memphis. So yeah, crazy talent, just like the texter said.
All right, about 2 minutes to go, John. So in the early going of baseball or softball, anything stand out? Any maybe individual performance or team performance? We just talked about one of the games.
Yeah, well, Collierville, they played Briarcrest on opening day, and Ari Bethay was on the hill for the Dragons, and he allowed one hit and struck out 12 batters over 5 innings, and then Collierville came back with another shutout the next day, so 14 innings and no runs for Collierville. They're off to a tremendous start. Lausanne with Caleb Doty and Christian Doty and Camden Armstrong, they beat Bartlett last night, and they're off to a 3-0 start with Buster Kelso over there at Lausanne, kind of doing the co-coaching duties with Chris Mitchell, one of his former players. Lausanne's never been to the state baseball tournament, and they got really close last year, and they might have a chance to get there this year. They've got a really talented team, and it's kind of grown up together over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're off to a tremendous start as well. So, like the texter said, tons of baseball talent in town this year, and I can't wait for it to warm up a little bit so I can get out there and see it. It's kind of tough to stand around in these temperatures and watch baseball for 2.5 hours, but we'll be there as soon as we can, that's for sure.
Come on, Varlas.
Upper 60s today, close to 70. We got Memphis baseball, so we're getting there. We're just about there, so hopefully it will warm up and stay warm, for goodness sakes. He's John Varlas from the Daily Memphian. He has you covered. Very busy time in the world of preps, but John does more than just preps, does a lot of different things at the DM. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at John Varlas, and listen to him each and every Friday all year long right here on Sports 56 Mornings. He's brought to you by the great folks at Shoot 360 Memphis. John, enjoy yourself in Cookeville. We'll talk to you next week.
I will, guys. Thank you. Thank you for helping me get through it. I think we hit all my talking points, so appreciate you guys, too. Take care.
Very nice. Thank you, John. Good stuff. Good stuff at Corky's. Lunch, dinner. It's always a good time for Corky's. Maybe not breakfast. I understand that, and it's breakfast time right now. But before too long, you'll be thinking about lunch, dinner, what to bring home the family, Friday night for dinner, maybe where you're going to go this weekend. You're going to go out one of the nights, maybe both nights. Corky's should be a choice. Corky's has been specializing in that slow-smoked barbecue for 40 years. So they got to be doing something right. And they've also been catering that entire time. They cater events, huge events. And if you need some catering services done, go with Corky's. They'll start you out as low as $7.99 per person. Again, that is their specialty. But when you head over for lunch or dinner, when you get your entree, add a third of a rack of ribs for just $7.99. So maybe you get a barbecue sandwich and then you get the ribs on the side. Share the ribs, enjoy the ribs, $7.99 for a third of a rack of ribs when you get your entree. Also, you may want to go outside the barbecue family. That means Corky's is still a great option. They got an award-winning catfish plate. They got tamales. They even have burgers. It's unbelievable. They got the hot wings as well. Really, really good. Party pack start at just $7.49. They have lunch specials every single day. You have an event coming up maybe later this year with graduations, any type of birthday parties, anniversary celebrations, family reunions. Corky's in Cordova and in Olive Branch have a private party room that you can use. Just call up and get more details about that. Corky's Ribs and Barbecue, open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. We're coming back, opening up hour number 2, talking Grizzlies. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the rendezvous can be packed to go. But we also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear, please listen carefully for our menu has changed. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of the mother's maiden name, dial it now. Come see us at the rendezvous. Since 1948, the rendezvous.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Tiger Nation, Memphis men's basketball returns to FedEx Forum Friday, March 7th at 8 when the Tigers welcome South Florida to Bluff City for their season finale. It's senior night as we'll honor 5 seniors prior to the game. A special halftime performance from the Palm and Ambush crew alumni. And one lucky student will take a half-court shot for a chance at $10,000. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and cheer on your first-place Tigers. Be sure to get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. What a challenge it's been trying to get down through Millington this morning, all from that abandoned house fire that the Millington Fire Department's been battling for a while. On 51 at Rust Road, again, there's they've opened it up to 1 lane, but still some rubbernecking down through there. On 51, especially coming southbound where it's heavy this time of the morning there at Rust Road, trying to get out of Millington headed towards Memphis. Hey, if your lawn needs some help this time of the year, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here to help with 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions today. You'll be glad you did. 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Diamonds are forever.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, everyone. 8:02 the time. Welcome in. If you're just tuning into the program, it's the Friday, March 7th, 2025 edition of Sports 56 Mornings. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you, broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, their first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio event going on right now. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Currently 49 degrees. It will get up to 67. Cloudy skies, a chance of a rain shower. Not a rainstorm, not some severe weather, but there is chance. There's a small chance, let's just say, about a 20% chance that you may see a little precipitation. Higher wind gusts are possible. Tonight, partly cloudy. 46 degrees, again, a slight chance of a rain shower. Then your Saturday looks to be cloudy with a high of 56 degrees. Hour number 2 of the program is brought to you each and every day by James Gaddis Jewelers, your family's jeweler. 4900 Poplar Avenue between Mendenhall and St. Nick, and on the web at GaddisJewelers.com. Every Monday and Friday, they bring you the Memphis Sports Fact. We've been talking a lot about the net and where Memphis is and the whole thing about analytics versus resume. Did you know Memphis is 6-1 in quad 1 games, which is the highest type of game, a quad 1 game. Memphis is 6-1 this season. Some teams that are ranked ahead of them in the net include Gonzaga. They are 3-6 in quad 1. North Carolina, they are 1-10 in quad 1. Cincinnati, 1-11 in quad 1. SMU, 0-4 in Quad 1, and Xavier 1-9 in Quad 1. All those teams ranked ahead of Memphis in the net. Memphis 6-1 in Quad number 1. Again, just Quad 1 wins doesn't determine your net. There's Quad 2, there's Quad 3, there's Quad 4. But it is pretty interesting with those numbers right there. James Gaddis Jewelers has the numbers for you as well. They have a price point to suit everyone's budget. So when you're picking out that special engagement ring, wedding ring, personally designed wedding sets, they make sure to work with your budget. That's what they do. They're a homegrown product. They've been around for 6 decades serving Memphians and Mid-Southerners. This isn't some big conglomerate, some big box store trying to sell you some jewelry. This is family, man. That's what you get at James Gaddis Jewelers, whether it's a beautiful watch, necklace, bracelet, pendant, whatever the case may be. They also have the vintage jewelry, the estate jewelry, antique jewelry. That's why every time you go in there, you're going to see things that you didn't see the last time you were in there. They're always adding to their display. They're always changing things around. They could take care of any issue you have with your jewelry. In fact, when you buy from James Gaddis Jewelers, become a family member, so they'll take care of that jewelry through the lifetime of that jewelry. You can't beat it. It's James Gaddis Jewelers. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 5, Saturday, 10 to 4, closed on Sunday. When you stop by, when you call them, tell them you heard it here on Sports 56 Mornings. It's James Gaddis Jewelers. All right, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to the NBA. Let's start with the Grizzlies, of course, playing tonight. The Grizzlies at 38-24. 20 games to go. Last 20 games of the regular season. Tonight they'll play at the Mavericks. The Mavs are 32-31 and going the wrong way. Now, the Grizz over the last 4 games going the wrong way because they lost all 4 of them. But the Mavs, with the injuries to Kyrie Irving, to Anthony Davis, and others, their season is just about toast. So this is one you hope that the Grizzlies can get well and win this game in Dallas. The series is even at 1 this season, with each team winning on their home court. What's the injury report? Have we seen it yet for the Grizzlies today?
Yeah. The Santi and Conchar are both listed as questionable. And then obviously Jaren is out. Ja is not listed at all on the injury report for tonight's game.
So it's interesting. After the comments that were made by Ja the other night, and it became a national story yesterday about he shouldn't have played that game and the minutes and all that stuff. With all that said, he's not even on the injury report. And is expected to be a go tonight.
Yeah, I guess if you know he's going to play, I don't know if there's no need to list him. Certainly the shoulder is not 100% healthy and good to go, but I guess if you know he's going to play, there's no doubt he's going to play. I guess you don't have to list him. I don't know exactly what the rules are as far as listing guys on the injury report if they are banged up, but yet they're going to play. I guess you don't have to.
Yeah, but forget about the injury report and how they list him or not list him in this case. Unless I'm crazy, Ja complained about the shoulder and said he probably should have been out with the injury. And so you would have thought that maybe something would have come of it where they would have had a conversation, and maybe they did, and then asked him, well, you don't think you're 100%? You don't think you're ready to go? And he says, no, I'm not. Then he would be placed on the injury list and would not play. There's something amiss with the communication.
Again, it's the same thing as I think. Like it's pain tolerance, and if he's going to play through it, he's going to play through it.
But he indicates almost that he doesn't want to play through it, that he shouldn't have played. That's what I'm confused about. He's basically.
But he did because he played through it.
We have had this was post. This was after the game. He said that. We have this conversation a lot of where the mandate comes from. Is it the doctors giving the green light? Is it the player himself saying, I can go? Is it management telling the head coach that you're going to play this guy and not play that guy? It might be a combination of a lot of things. All I know is after that game, he said he should not have been playing, which made me think, wow, are they going to shut him down for a few games? They got 4 games coming up, which they should win. Doesn't mean they will, but they should, before they play a couple of really tough games, including the Cavaliers. But we also saw against the Spurs on that Saturday night that they left 4 guys out when they could have staggered them, probably thinking they could have won that game no matter what, and they ended up losing that game on the De'Aaron Fox shot. So I don't know what goes through their minds when it comes to the decision-making of who to, when they're on the injury list, who to keep out and when to keep them out. But, again, I thought it was going to be something bad when Ja, the player himself, came out and said I shouldn't have played. So I expected him fully to be on the injury list and maybe not play tonight. So the fact that he's going to play, I guess they got a kumbaya moment and came to the conclusion that he was going to play. I just don't want to hear it again after the game if he's complaining about I shouldn't have played. Because I would think that with the players, especially the stars of the league, they control the narrative or a good part of the narrative. In other words, if Ja says before a game, look, man, I can't go, man. I can't feel my shoulder. He's not going to play. They're not going to force him. They don't force anything. Guy has a hangnail. He's on the injured reserve or whatever. So Josh saying that, I thought that would be the narrative. It's not. So I guess that's good news to hear. Maybe they cleared the air a little bit, but he came out, he's pretty vocal about it. But in any case, this Mavs team is all beat up. You should go into Dallas. You should win. Doesn't mean that you've solved all your issues, but it gets you right a little bit. You lose somehow tonight, Katie bar the door.
I don't even know how many guys the Mavericks have healthy. I think they only had 8 guys for their last game. Their injury report is long. They've got, so I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going with 8 again or how many of the guys they actually have healthy for tonight's game. But it's a rough situation right now for Dallas with no bigs. Kyrie Irving's out. This is a game that absolutely for the Grizzlies, you have to go win. There is no other option. You have to beat this Dallas team.
Last night, the Grizzlies didn't play, but it was still a bad night for the Grizzlies because the teams around them in the standings all won, including the Lakers, the game Elijah stayed up to watch, winning in overtime over the Knicks. The Knicks continue to lose to the top teams in their respective conferences, and the Lakers right now are in second in the West, and Jalen Brunson came up lame in the overtime session. But the Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves was back combination is really starting to click. And Luka hit some big shots in overtime. Between the three of them, they're scoring points, they're distributing, they're getting rebounds, and they win that game in overtime. So the Lakers right now, nobody's catching Oklahoma City, but they are in second, a half a game in front of Denver.
Yeah, it was Luka and LeBron were both really good, both over 30 in the game last night. LeBron 31, 12 rebounds, 8 assists. Luka 32 points, 12 assists, 7 rebounds. Reeves was terrible, but those two guys got a little Gabe Vincent help, Dalton Connect help off the bench. And they found a way. They trailed for a lot of that game, but came back in the fourth quarter, held the Knicks to only 15 points in the fourth quarter. And then, Brunson, that ankle, that was a nasty-looking ankle injury. It twisted pretty bad, so we'll see what his situation is going forward.
They could ill afford to lose him for a lot of time, as long as he's okay for the postseason. But my gosh, he is the catalyst of that team.
Oh, obviously, and I don't know, but he stepped on a foot and it twisted pretty badly. They're kind of in a position in the East where they've got 3.5 on the Bucks. They're 4.5 behind the Celtics, so they kind of are what they are right now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they certainly don't want to be without Jalen Brunson for any period of time.
So a couple things connected to that Lakers game, or at least the Lakers and Luka Doncic indirectly, but you had Mark Cuban, as I said to start the show. I don't know what was in the air yesterday, but it was like a time to. It was Festivus. Time to air your grievances. So Mark Cuban although he wasn't airing a grievance, was asked about the Luka trade. Now, Mark is still connected with the Mavericks, but he's not the owner and he's not a chief decision maker anymore, so he sits back and just watches and observes. But they asked for his comment. He's going to give them their comment. He was asked about the trade. He said, if the Mavs were going to trade Luka, okay, that's one thing. Just get a better deal. No disrespect to Anthony Davis. If we had gotten 4 unprotected number ones and Anthony Davis and Max Christie, this would be a different conversation. So it wasn't so much with Mark Cuban the fact they traded Luka, or although it was with the ticket holders, or at least most of them, he just felt that they got taken to the bank by the Lakers. That they won the trade hands down, that they could have gotten more, that Nico Harrison, even though he didn't say it, screwed up by not looking at all possibilities. So that's a comment that he made. Then, again, indirectly, you had the round mound of rebound, Charles Barkley, who is unfiltered every time he opens his mouth. He's working still this year, final year for NBA on TNT. But the boys, as I had predicted well before it was announced that they were going to go to ESPN, there was no question, and Stephen A. Smith's going to be a big part of it, like it or not, Charles Barkley goes off on ESPN. Did you hear that? Mm-hmm. That rant? Okay. He goes off and they're talking about Kendrick Perkins because I think Kenny Smith brought up Perkins' name, but they're talking about ESPN in general. That all they do is talk about the Lakers and the Warriors, Lakers and Warriors, Lakers and Warriors. And he went off saying, look, Oklahoma City and Cleveland, that's who the bulk of the conversation should be about. And he called them idiots over at ESPN. I said, no, even though we're working there next year, he's basically saying, and this is kind of a Pat McAfee theory as well, we're going to say whatever the hell we're going to say. We're going to be rebels. We're not company people. We're never going to be. When criticism is warranted, we'll criticize. I love it. I love those kind of guys, those gunslingers. And I've always loved Barkley. But my gosh. And he makes an interesting point. ESPN does the same stuff. Even though they have a billion shows and a billion personnel, they do the same stuff. If you listen to the national radio, and I understand how powerful the NFL is. I'm not stupid. Every conversation is about the NFL. I mean, every time I turn it on, it's the NFL, NFL, NFL. Even in the midst of the NBA playoffs, in the midst of anything else, it's always the NFL. Well, in basketball right now, with the basketball shows, right? You're not going to talk NFL when it's NBA Today or whatever the hell it's called. But the problem, according to Barkley and other people, is that it's always about the Lakers, the Warriors, maybe the Knicks, and here we got Cleveland and Oklahoma City. Not major markets when it comes to the rest of the cities in the league. I mean, still big cities, but there's no conversation or little conversation. Does he make a good point?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, it's what ESPN does. Like, again, they talk about the Cowboys during the NFL season constantly because they know that the Cowboys, they're the Cowboys. The Lakers are the Lakers. There's fans everywhere. People, love the Lakers, most popular franchise. Warriors, obviously, with what they've done in the last 10, 15 years, whatever, they're a massive fan base, and they understand that. People talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, no matter how good they are, people generally don't care.
Unless LeBron's on the Cavaliers.
Yeah, when LeBron was there, they talked about the Cavaliers. LeBron's not there, no matter how good they are. Talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder, people just don't really care that much.
Here was the response from Kendrick Perkins on social media, and Perk at one time played for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's not forget that. Hey, NBA on TNT. Might want to tell that senior citizen Charles Barkley that I'll be around. When he see an idiot or fool in person, make sure he keep that same energy. He can come playing with me if he want to, and I'm going to dress his ass like the numbers on a house. Straight from the 409 homeboy, and we bar none and fade all. Hashtag Texas boy. Maybe this is good. I don't know, for when they all get together, maybe this is good. But the NBA on TNT is the best show, bar none, when it comes to sports. HBO Hard Knocks, I'm not, that's a different category. But those guys are the best. I don't know how much of a factor it's going to be when they go to ESPN, but it's not going to be the same show because you're going to have guys like Perkins, who I don't mind.
Again, they're not going to work for ESPN. They're going to work for TNT. TNT is basically leasing the show to ESPN.
Right.
So I don't think those guys will be involved.
Oh, I guarantee you that somehow they're going to, maybe not like on a daily basis, they're going to be involved. Stephen A. Smith is going to be involved. Stephen A. Smith is going to be involved in those broadcasts. It's not going to be the same as NBA on TNT. It will. Now, if it is, I'll be very happy.
Actually, I don't believe Stephen A. Smith, the part of his new deal is he's going to be doing less.
Okay, maybe you're right. I'll believe it when I see it. On a platform that big, that guy wouldn't be involved some way, somehow. But if you leave it alone, I'm fine with it. I love those guys together. The four of them are money, absolute money. But again, I don't mind Perkins because they'll say some things that are just out of left field, but I don't mind that at all. Stephen A. Smith, which I know you don't like, sometimes I can take him, sometimes I can't. But man, oh man, ESPN loves him because, according to reports, he has signed a new deal. 5 years, $100 million. So for everybody who thinks he's leaving to go to the political side of things, forget about it. You can't run for president and be a part of the ESPN. I don't know if you want to give up $200 million. Sorry, $100 million. 5 years, $20 million a year for Stephen A. Smith. Wow.
Good for Stephen A. Again, obviously,
good work if you can find it, right?
Obviously, he has an audience out there. I am not part of it, but that's great for him.
And then one last thing involving, again, the Lakers and the whole deal yesterday was the confrontation between Stephen A. Smith and LeBron James, as LeBron came up to Stephen A. Smith. And people are trying to dissect his lips and what exactly he said, unless they have actual audible clips that distinguish what he says. But basically, people are saying that he's telling Stephen A. Smith to leave Bronny out of his mouth. This is like a Will Smith thing going on right here, but it's LeBron James. I don't know what he has said. I can't imagine he took like a personal jab at Bronny. But to me, Bronny is fair game. Bronny is fair game. And I know Papa Bear's going to be upset, right? I would be too. Anybody who has a son or daughter and you hear criticism, you're going to come guns a-blazing. But on a platform that Smith has to be critical, he should be able to do that. And I bet you he doesn't even get as bad as some of the other people. Because we're small potatoes, but come on, if you don't believe that's nepotism, you're crazy. If you think Bronny James is an NBA player, you're out of your mind. I mean, when the guy occasionally makes a shot, it's almost like people feel sorry for him. They're applauding, I'm not talking about the people at the game. Everybody, oh, Bronny made it. Isn't that cute? Bronny made a shot. The guy's in the NBA because of his pops. So I don't, again, unless it's a personal jab, I think it's fair game. So him approaching and kind of trying to intimidate Stephen A. Smith, to me, that's out of bounds.
Yeah, certainly Bronny is open for criticism. I don't like it is what it is. He's on an NBA roster and does it belong there? If people don't think he belongs there, it's certainly they can do whatever they want as far as that is concerned. I have no idea what Stephen A. Smith has ever said about him, and I'll never know what Stephen A. Smith ever says about him. But I don't whatever if he wants.
You can read about
it. But if LeBron wants to defend his son, that's okay too. Whatever. They can fight about it. I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me one way. I understand a dad wanting to protect his son, but again, your son is in the NBA and he's open for criticism.
You wouldn't mind if they fought to the death?
I certainly would not. I would prefer it be Stephen A. Smith versus Skip Bayless, and they literally both fight till death. But yeah, nonetheless, hopefully in that case, at least one dies.
Maybe that's a new show for Netflix in about 10 years. Fight to the death. On Netflix, 8-part series.
Maybe we'll get Kendrick Perkins versus Charles Barkley, too, and two old fat guys fighting each other. Folks, speaking of, well, we don't need a gun. We don't need a gunfight. We don't need a gunfight. I'm not imploring a gunfight here. Although Bayless and Stephen A. Smith.
Well, if Hamilton and Burr could have it back in the day, why not a duel?
But when it comes to guns, the place here in Memphis would be Classic Arms, 1740 Germantown Parkway, right behind Corky's. You can go check them out with over 700 firearms in stock. Anything you're looking for, they're probably going to have it, whether it be handguns, whether it be shotguns, rifles, whatever. Not only new guns, but also used guns. They not only sell, they buy, they trade. They got all the top brand names as well. Everything you can imagine. When it comes to the world of firearms, you're going to find it at Classic Arms. You can go to their website at classicarmsofmemphis.com. Shop 24/7 there. Or again, go see them in person at 1740 Germantown Parkway. They do free gun inspections and appraisals as well. They do it all. All your gun supplies, from ammunition to gun safes and gun cases. Anything you need, it's at Classic Arms. 1740 Germantown Parkway or online at classicarmsofmemphis.com.
The Professor Matt Dillon joins us next for the Memphis Tigers basketball report. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. One of the spokespeople. I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in. I know you have too. Hey. But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis. In the world.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Good morning. It's picked up even more with that volume on Germantown Parkway right over I-40. It continues to build in from Fayette County on I-40 westbound into Shelby. They're up I-269. Starting to load up with more volume on 385 Biltmore's Parkway coming inbound all the way to 240. If your lawn needs a little bit of help this time of the year, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here with 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions today, 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
It's the regular season finale. It's senior night for the Memphis Tigers tonight at FedEx Forum, an 8 o'clock tip with South Florida. A win means they win the American Conference regular season title outright. 5 players will be honored. It's going to be a great night. And, of course, Matt Dillon will be there. He's the Tigers basketball radio analyst, and he joins us each and every week during the Tiger basketball season for the Tiger Basketball Report. It's brought to you by Binswanger Glass, Central Barbecue, Colonial Hardware, and Napa Cafe. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, guys. Man, it's nice to be back home and finish the season at FedEx Forum, man. What do you say? You can't have a better ending than the way this thing is setting up right now.
And it's pretty amazing when you think about where they were this time last year, and in 1 year, this amazing turnaround.
It is amazing. A very talented team last year, and I'm really kind of sad in a way for them, Greg, because you think about this team this year has closed games most of the time when they've, really been challenged. But the team last year just changed complexion at the end. You could tell that things were kind of not 100% the way they should have been. And, of course, then you go into the tournament and a real disappointing first game loss. So, yeah, it's completely different. It's amazing from 1 year to the next how teams will be different. And, teams change during the year, even between, parts of the year, because you look last year how well they played early and then got up, really ranked real high. And kind of sad when you think about it, because that team last year had a lot of potential. But this team this year certainly is answering the bell. And, boy, tonight's going to be an exciting time. That place should be really rocking and rolling tonight, I believe. It's going to be an interesting night.
Penny, when he was on with us yesterday, talked about the difficulty of the Sunday game followed by the Tuesday game. You mentioned it last week. That UTSA game could be difficult when you're traveling and playing, a little over 48 hours later. Did you think it was noticeable in the UTSA game, maybe a little sluggishness?
Yeah, I thought they came out. I kind of watched them to warm up a little bit, and one of the things about a place like UTSA, I mean, it is an old building. I mean, it is so bad. Remember the old timey, lights in the gym, and they hummed all the time.
Yes.
I mean, you could hear the lights humming in that gym. That's how old the place is. A very tiny arena. They got some seats in there probably haven't been sat in for years, to be honest with you. And it's just one of those situations where you got to generate your own energy. That's the thing that kind of worried me a little bit. Will they be able to do that when they played UTSA? And they came out, I thought, really sluggish. And UTSA was fired up. That team, they came out with a lot of passion. And that's the thing kind of really, got me going. Can we sustain their passion? And everything was going pretty well. And I think Harris getting hurt kind of bummed them out a little bit as well. That was something that happened during the game. But, yeah, I was worried about it, Eli. You just don't know, because short turnaround and everything else. But this league has got a strange scheduling. And you look at North Texas, they had to play 3 games the last week. So, I mean, they need to do something about the schedule in this league. The way the thing is set up, of course, they've got to get everything set up for that 12 and 13 game up at Denton. So they kind of had to cram everything in schedule-wise. And, yeah, it was pretty tough. You having a real emotional game at UAB, and then you get on a charter and go down there, and we got there late and really didn't have a great time to kind of settle in. Another quick game. So, yeah, it was a very interesting challenge, but they rose to it and did just enough to win that game. And I'm certainly glad, because I tell you guys, I was kind of nervous at the end a little bit, to be honest with you.
Matt, it's really hard to believe that, and I know the American Conference hasn't been around for 30 years, but that this is Memphis's first regular season title.
Yeah, it is hard to believe when you think about it. And, I think it's a testimony to this team. They set that goal to, win the regular season championship, and they were able, at least to get a tie right now. And a lot of people thought they won it the other night, but again, if you lose and then North Texas wins,
right,
you're co-champions of the league. You do have the number 1 seed, obviously, which is important, but it's not all done yet. You still got some work to do tonight, but I think they're going to be up to the challenge.
With South Florida, it's a team that they beat by 15 down there. What kind of challenge does South Florida present?
Well, I tell you, they're a team that really has one big guy only. The rest of the guys are guys that shoot a lot of threes. They try to get them down the floor. They're not very deep. They're not a great rebounding team, and I think they're a club that the Tigers should be able to handle physically, for one. I mean, Dane should be able to have a great game against this team. I think you've gotten a lot out of that club, and consider that, the fact that they lost their coach, his untimely death before the season started. But they're just a club that has nothing to lose. That's one thing I think you got to realize, Eli, coming into this thing. They have nothing to lose. I mean, they're loose, and they're not going anywhere basically. But think Ben Fletcher is put into a situation that was very difficult. I think he's done a reasonable job considering everything, but they're a club that is not a good defensive team. They're not a great rebounding team. They do shoot a lot of threes, but they're not a very good percentage. Should be able to wear them down depth-wise. They changed the lineup a little bit. They've kind of gone with different guys. C.J. Brown's now be back into the starting lineup for them, and I think they're just a team that comes in. They're going to play the best they can, but again, I think they're a club that has nothing to lose, and it's going to be interesting to see how they will fit in. But boy, that 8-9 game, those two teams and the Tigers have the one, and they're sitting there in a good bracket. I think and here you have Wichita State, which is a club that very formidable club. They're a team that beat the Tigers once this year, so that's something you got to look forward to as the brackets go along. But I certainly think they're a team, a very small team, 4-guard lineup should be able to be handled by the Tigers tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week more about the conference tournament. It'll be underway from Dickies Arena, but it's the last chance for all those teams. Every one of those teams, with the exception of Memphis, has to win the tournament to get into the big dance. So if you thought that Memphis was everybody's Super Bowl during the regular season, next week it's going to be taken up a notch because these teams are all trying to pull off an upset and to win it and to get the AQ. And that's the only way that one of them is going to be able to get into the tournament if they are able to knock off Memphis.
Well, that's exactly right. And I'll tell you now, North Texas is a dangerous team, too. And you have to understand, I mean, adding 42 last night, that's one off the American record. Jeremiah Martin's got the record 43 against Tulane. So, I mean, he just exploded last night. They're really a gritty defensive team and a team, and I think, they're a club that only got one crack at the Tigers, and that was here. So that's some incentive for North Texas. So, but that's another day for next week. So, but their club is dangerous, and you got to be ready. It's funny because everybody in this league is going for them, and that's something you got to understand. The only thing that really disturbed me was the 22 turnovers the other night. That was something that has to be corrected. There's no question when you go into tournament play, but North Texas is a team that's dangerous. They just look at them. They're not a very powerful team offensively, but when you got a guy that gets 42, put a number up, that's saying a guy that's pretty good at the basketball player. He's had 2 42-point games.
No question. He's a baller.
Right here. Yeah. So he's a good guy.
Especially when you're playing at the pace they play at, to put up 42.
No question.
North Texas and UAB will be on the other side of the bracket as the 2-3. Is there any team outside of those two, which, again, you wouldn't meet them till the championship game, that you could meet before the championship game that you would like to avoid if you could?
Well, I really don't want to play Wichita State. I think they're a team that is potentially can do some things. Now, they played well at home, no question about it. And they lost to Fort Texas the other night. But their team has got a little bit of height. They're playing pretty well. Cortez has settled their point guard situation down a little bit. I think they're a team that's dangerous as well. They've got some scoring guys on there, Washington, and some guys that can play. So I'm kind of leery of them a little bit. They're a club that's very gritty. A team that I think kind of plays up to their potential. A lot of times you think teams don't, but I think Wichita State has improved Eli from where they were the first of the year. And again, I think you got to give Cortez a lot of credit. He's really not a guy you think is an imposing player, but he settled him down. I mean, he was a highly recruited player, high school. So he's kind of settled him down a little bit. But I think Wichita State is a team that could be a very dangerous team.
Matt Dillon joining us on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. It's the Memphis Tigers basketball report. It's brought to you by Napa Cafe, Colonial Hardware, Ben Swanger Glass, and Central Barbecue. Senior night has become a lot different than it used to be because normally, back in the day, a player was being celebrated after having played 3 or 4 years at the school. Now, a lot of times, the players are in and out for 1 year. It's interesting because yesterday when Penny was on our show, he talked about how great this team was in understanding the history of the program, the importance of the program to the city, that they got it. They understood that. So maybe there's more of a connection with the fan base than maybe perhaps some of the other classes that have come through. But it is interesting, Matt, because it's usually a player now that's been there 1 year and then they're gone. And then there's also players in this world of the portal where you don't know. You hope that P.J. Haggerty, if he's playing college ball next year, is back. He won't be celebrated tonight because obviously he has eligibility left. But they're going to be losing some very important players tonight who will be playing in their final regular season game.
There is no question about that. And one thing for me, I don't know if it's the same way for you guys, but my career, I really kind of knew the players a lot. Now, it's been a difficult situation, I think, in a lot of ways because of everything that's happened. It just seems like, you kind of be, in a situation where you were friends with the players. Now, I know them kind of, okay, but do not know them as well as I did before. And I think that's kind of sad in some ways because tonight's a chance for the fans to really connect with them, I think. And I think, certainly if they come through, which I think they will tonight, fans will be very, very happy. And you got to have a nice, positive thoughts of going into these tournaments. I think that's the big thing. You want to go in with a head of steam and be able to play well.
Well, that's the thing, I think, with the fans, with everybody, is again, it's hard to connect to a guy when he's there for 1 year. If he's there for 3 or 4 years, and you build an affinity towards them. But when it's a one and done, when everybody's one and done essentially one way or another,
that's right.
Yeah, it's tough for fans. It's tough for everybody to really have any connection to that player.
And that's why, Matt, it's important for the players when they're here, and some do it better than others, to connect with the community. And that's why Penny was praising this class and this team, rather, than any of his other teams. Better, he said, than any of the other teams in embracing that whole culture thing, getting out in the community. There was another event yesterday where 3 of the players were there for kids out in, I think it was maybe Brownsville. I'm not sure exactly where. But
right, it was, yeah.
Yeah, these type of things. And that's why I think there's a little better connection this year with this team, with the fan base. But both your points are well taken. It's a whole different world.
Well, it is, and I hate it. I don't know the players as well, and boy, they're going to be gone. Boom. So it's quick, and it's a hard adjustment for 1 year. I think, for 1 year, you had a guy coming in, and he's got to get settled in, and everything's going. But Coach Hardaway, I got to give him a tremendous amount of credit. The staff's done a great job with this team, and he said this team was going to be different, and they've really been different, no question.
In the end, with the way it is now, it's basically like a professional team signing a guy to a 1 year contract.
Right.
It's just they're gonna pay him more money, so he's gonna come there for his 1 year, and then he's gonna move along. Like that's and you're in that situation with you're like, okay, this is great to have this guy, but I don't really care. He just came here because he wanted more money, and now he'll be gone next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of things involved in it, Eli. There's no question about it. And the big thing to me as a coach now, you got to do it every year. See, you may go in and get 3 or 4 guys next year that don't, mesh together very well, and then that's a problem. But then this year you had a team that is a veteran club. They came here. I remember Rogers was telling me, I've never been involved with a team that's this good. So there's a lot of incentive for some of these guys because they came in here wanting to win, and they were able to do it. And got to give them a tremendous amount of credit. You mix guys in. You think you've got a good lineup, but this year it's gelled. Other years it kind of has some problems, but I'm really impressed with the way this team has got a head of steam going into the tournament, and I think you got a lot of momentum right now.
And heck, Penny yesterday made it quite clear. It's like teams are already tampering with P.J. Haggerty. You had SEC schools and ACC schools coming in, offering him a bunch of money, all of these things. And, hell, we haven't even got to the conference tournament yet. And they're already lining up at the door to try and convince P.J. Haggerty can play there for more money.
Oh, yeah, they know. They realize how important he is, and that's the way it's going to be, though. I mean, the rest of the time now, every year it's going to be a changing situation. But and Haggerty will have to make a lot of big decisions for himself as well. And you got two decisions: one for your own good, one for the good of the program and the team. So that's a very hard decision, I think, to make in a lot of ways for a young guy that's his age.
He is the professor. He's Matt Dillon, Memphis Tigers basketball radio analyst, and the guest of ours each and every week during the basketball season for the Tiger Basketball Report. Once again, brought to you by Central Barbecue, Binswanger Glass, Colonial Hardware, and Napa Cafe. A little later tip-off tonight at 8:05, Matt, so maybe get in a quick nap, and you'll be ready to go tonight. We're looking forward to your call. Thank you as always. We'll talk to you next week from
Okay, guys.
from Fort
Should be a
Worth.
great game tonight, and go Tigers.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. So the schedule, we should know when they play, right? Is that already set? Like the number one seed plays what time on day 2? It would be.
I don't know
Friday.
if they set that or if they have to wait for TV or not. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the order is already determined or if they wait for TV to determine that order of those quarterfinal games.
Right. Some of the tournaments are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They'll end Saturday before Selection Sunday. Some are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, ending on Sunday. I don't know how many, but I know the American is one of them. So with Memphis not playing day 1, they won't play until Friday. That'll be their first game. So plenty of time between this game tonight then to get ready for the tournament. Whereas other teams are playing on Sunday. Still, they have plenty of time as well, but some will be going from playing on Sunday to playing on Thursday.
According to their website, the number one seed will play at noon on Friday. So they'll be the first game on Friday.
Okay.
If this is what they go by and they don't change this for any purposes. And that would make actually some sense, I guess, because ESPN2 has the first 2 games. ESPNU has the last 2 games on Friday. So it would make sense to have the better teams playing on ESPN2.
Exactly. I thought they had the time set, but I wasn't 100% sure. Well, you brought up the Haggerty thing. When we come back, I want to talk more about what Penny had to say and about that whole tampering situation in collegiate sports. We'll do that when we return. Hour 3 will open up with 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. I know we missed it last week. It's back. Got a great prize package for you, so get ready for that in Hour 3. You're tuned into Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Fans out there, Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. Commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue six-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum, the dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So yesterday I did my weekly hit with Brett and Bryant on Sports Time, which you can hear from 3 to 6 daily. And we were talking about the whole tampering thing. Penny on the show yesterday, if you guys heard it. And I had already said 3 weeks ago on the show that I had heard from a very reliable source that there were some SEC teams that were already tampering. They were already offering Haggerty big money. I didn't hear the specific teams. I didn't hear the specific amount. But I just heard that that was going around from, again, not speculation from an idiot out there. I mean, actually a very reliable source.
Which is no surprise. I mean,
no surprise.
Anybody could have guessed it was happening.
No surprise. I'm not saying I split the atom here.
Everybody, there's guys all across America being tampered with.
Right. And then Penny came on and said SEC teams, ACC teams. So he's finding this out. So obviously, I would assume he's getting that information from BJ himself. That's where he's finding it. That's where he's hearing it. So I went on yesterday and talked to these guys, and I go, look, it's the Wild Wild West. There's going to be movement. Teams have been going after other teams' players for centuries. I mean, being facetious here, but, for decades and decades and decades, it's just not, it wasn't the transfer portal as we know it now with NIL money, but there were reasons, to entice a player to go to another school, whatever. So that's been going on forever. But I don't like it one bit that you have a team or teams that are getting ready for conference tournaments, and they all are, depending on when the tampering takes place, or teams that are getting ready for the NCAA tournament, that is happening at this time. I understand that it's going to happen. Agents are now involved. There's now third-party litigators, if you will, or in-betweeners. But this is coming from schools, according to Penny. The specific SEC teams, ACC teams, who else? Maybe other teams, right? Who knows? That it's happening right now. The kid should be completely concentrating on what's going on, and hopefully he is, with this team, trying to lead this team to the tournament and to a very successful run. But who knows what's happening if teams are calling and dangling multi-million in front of them. Now, there's a couple of things. One, it doesn't mean that Memphis can figure out a way to find that money to keep them. I don't know if they can offer as much as some of these other teams. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. And there's also the possibility that maybe the young man thinks he's ready for the NBA, which is a possibility. But right now, I have a problem with tampering. Not that tampering takes place, but I don't understand when the team is done, when their season is done, and you want to go after a player, that's when it should be allowed to happen. But there's no rules and regulations. There's nothing you can do. You can't penalize these schools. Who's going to do it? NCAA enforcement? Come on, man. Are we kidding? But when they finally get somebody who can control this or figure out, or a panel of people, or somebody's got to be able to figure this out and keep this in keep it in some kind of respectful way of doing it. Because trying to and being successful in contacting these players, maybe through an agent, maybe through them directly, and offering things while their season is still going on is pitiful. I don't like it at all. Again, I understand after the fact. It makes sense. Now, with Brett and Bryant, we had the conversation, and Brett made a good point. He goes, well, Haggerty came to Memphis. He came from Tulsa. What happened there? I was saying, I don't know what happened there. But I know that their season ended, and then he had signed 2 months later. Now, it would be kind of – it would be what's the word? Hypocritical if Penny is on the show talking about that, which he was yesterday, and he did the same thing last year when Haggerty was at Tulsa. So I'm going to think that maybe that didn't happen, that it happened afterwards. And so that's what bothers me. Not because there's nothing and there's no penalties. Because I think if there was something in place, you contacted a player while their season was going on, then that school should be fined a certain amount of money, and a lot of money, because it would certainly not affect those big schools if it was a little bit. Big fines for contacting players, trying to take those players away while their seasons are going on. After the season's done, it's free game. It's like you said, it's a free agency system.
But again, I mean,
players aren't contacted during the season in the NFL. That's against the rules.
Yeah, but
it's tampering rules.
But again, I mean, first of all, it's what exactly like in the NFL, whatever. Like agents know what during the time what teams are going to be interested in their guy and what they might be able to pay them, and it just they're not directly having negotiations or talking to the player, but the agents know. Like they can figure it out.
They kind of sense it, but
that same thing here. Like if a member of a collective is contacting an agent for a player to let him know what we might have available for that player next year, well, is that tampering with that player? I don't know. I mean, it is what it is.
If it's that,
there's a lot of different ways. If I contact or I happen to be talking to, just pure coincidentally, I'm talking to Johnny's former high school coach and telling him how much we love Johnny and gosh, we'd love to have him at our program. And man, I don't know. You see what we've got. We've been paying kids this much money and NIL to somebody like him could make a lot of money at our program. And but hey, whatever. Just know you happen to know. Again, there's so many ways, and for the NCAA to be able to even have any clue what's going on, it's impossible.
Well, the NCAA is clueless to begin with, but yes, if it's veiled comments, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm talking about if a direct contact is made and an offer is put out there, even if that offer is through the agent. If I'm not saying they're the ones, but let's just say Missouri offered $2 million to P.J. Haggerty to play for him next season. And whether they contacted the agent or him directly, P.J. directly. And I would think some of these teams may have some of these schools may have contacted him directly. Just the way
I would guess they have not, because I don't think they're that dumb. But there's some that might be that dumb.
There might be, but that's where I would have a problem. Now, if they said, they were talking to the agent and they were like, there could be, yes, I understand that. There's going to be conversations probably had. But if that agent's turning around while this season's going on right now, and that's his job, right, to keep the player informed now. Again, it's more professional than it is collegiate with the big-time players, and PJ's a big-time player. But if you turn around and go, listen, Missouri offered $2 million for next year, then your mind's starting to wonder. You're not concentrating on what you're doing necessarily. I don't like that timing of everything. Season ends, Memphis is done with the NCAA tournament, and then all of a sudden schools are bombarding him with offers or going through the agent. That's fine. I understand that. I mean, he's not going to make a decision the day after the season ends, but I think it's a good contact period. But we don't have any rules and regulations to say when you can contact. It's during the season that I have a problem with.
It's just they're really hard to enforce.
Well, whatever the case may be, they're going to have to figure out.
So they're in the portal. You're not supposed to contact them. But
true. But that's cockamamie stuff. They need to have solid rules and regulations to do this stuff because it's not fair to the current teams. And I don't care if it's Memphis grabbing a player from a smaller school, or it's a bigger school stealing one from Memphis, or even a big power school, and a bigger power school stealing one from them. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's just ridiculous that it's happening now, and pretty obvious to Penny Hardaway, and that's why he said it. He wouldn't have said it if it was speculation. He said it because it's factual, and I guarantee he said it to get it out there that he's not happy with it, and he shouldn't be. But there are many other coaches as well in that same situation. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we open up Hour 3 with 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. If you'd like to participate, jump on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines right now. Don't get shut out. 901-360-8255. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsofMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quicky's Barbecue in Cordova.
Good morning. Starting to pick up a little bit more volume southbound on Austin P, getting up on that ramp to I-40. It's moving in the Midtown area right now. I-40 over here at Chelsea. Expected to get a little bit busier in the next few minutes on I-40 East across the Hernando de Soto Bridge coming over from West Memphis. Weimer's Jewelry serving Memphis for what? Over 40 years? No matter what the occasion is, you'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back, everyone. 9:04 the time. Final hour for us this week here on Sports 56 Mornings. It's the Friday, March 7th, 2025 edition. Greg Gaston, Eli Savoy, Elijah Seegers with you from the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, their first ever preseason pool, spa, patio event going on right now. Checking out this weekend, 2120 Whitten Road. That's just north of Interstate 40. Currently, it's 52 degrees. We're looking at 67, 68 for a high, with a chance for rain, but just a passing shower, possibly, about a 20% chance. Not some all-day precipitation affair. Higher wind gusts, though, are possible. Right now, it looks like sustained at about 15 to 20. Some clouds tonight, 46 for a low. Again, a chance, slight chance of a rain shower tomorrow. Cloudy, 56 for your high. Sunday looks like we may get some rain, about a 45% chance. 56 also for a high on Sunday, and then it starts to heat up next week. Hour 3 of the program brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Family-owned and operated local business that specializes in flooring and carpeting. Located at 2356 Goodman Road. That's in Horn Lake. They also have stores in Cleveland, Mississippi, and in Little Rock, Arkansas. You can call them at 662-469-9350. If it's carpeting you're looking for, they have carpeting from Southern Luxury Carpet, hardwoods by Porter Craft, ceramic and porcelain tiles, backsplashes, plantation shutters and blinds, SPC and WPC vinyls. They have it all for you. And they're going to save you a lot of money because they sell it wholesale at Jenkins Floors and More. If you want them to do the job for you, they can get the job done in a 2-week turnaround. They'll come to you. They'll show you some samples. They'll give you a free estimate, and then they'll get the job done for you. Financing is always available at Jenkins Floors and More. Give them a call at 662-469-9350 or stop by 2356 Goodman Road in Horn Lake. You can't miss it, right there on Goodman Road. Open Monday through Saturday. It's Jenkins Floors and More. All right. A little bit later on, we'll get back into the busy Friday night that we have in store with the Tigers and the Grizzlies, and we'll take some calls and texts on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines. But right now, it's time for 10 in a row.
Not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 in a row.
It's the game show that has swept the nation. It is 10 in a row, and it's brought to you by the great folks at Napa Cafe.
That's right. If you're out celebrating a special evening or just want a great meal, whatever it might be, well, Napa Cafe certainly is a great place to do that. 5101 Sanderlin is where you'll find them. They've got 5 different dining rooms, including their private wine cellar, which is great for any special occasion that you might be celebrating. But really, if you're celebrating a special occasion, anywhere there is going to be great. But also, again, it can just be out for a night out with friends or family to enjoy a great meal. You can go to NapaCafe.com to check out the menu, make your reservations, do whatever you need to do there. They're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. You also can get curbside pickup with the entire menu as well if you want to take some of their great food home. They've been doing it now for 27 years. And if in the restaurant business you've been doing it that long, you know you're producing some great food. And that's exactly what they do over at Napa Cafe. Again, NapaCafe.com is the website. 5101 Sanderlin is where you'll find them there in East Memphis. Wednesday through Saturday, dinner starting at 5 o'clock. It is Napa Cafe. And the winner of 10 in a row will get a $50 gift certificate to Napa Cafe, along with a $25 gift certificate to East Coast Wings and Grill, and a couple of Malco movie passes.
All right, here's the question. NBA teams to begin a season with a 50-10 record or better through their first 60 games. Some have done it multiple times. NBA teams to begin a season with a 50-10 record or better through their first 60 games. 360-8255 is the number. Sissy's Log Cabin listener lines open to you at 901-360-8255 as we play 10 in a row, the game show that has swept the nation. NBA teams to begin a season with a 50-10 record or better through their first 60 games. As folks...
So are you going to get like a specific year in the team?
No.
Or just that franchise has ever done it?
Yep. I'm just going to give that franchise. And like I said, some have done it multiple times. I can tell you it's been done 12 total times. 12 total times. As folks frantically go to Google.
360-8255, 360-8255, the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Get a $50 gift certificate to Napa Cafe, $25 to East Coast Wings and Grill, and a couple of Malco movie passes, all available for a winner of 10 in a row today. 360-8255, 360-8255. Dan is going to lead us off. Hey, Dan.
Hello, Dan.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Going well. Thank you for being a guinea pig here. NBA teams to begin the season with a 50-10 record or better through their first 60 games. The Knicks.
No.
The Bulls.
Yes.
The 76ers.
Yes.
The Pistons.
No.
The Heat.
Yes.
360-8255 is the number. I thought Dan was going to run the table. I was feeling good about it. All right, who's next?
Next up, we have Carl. Hey, Carl.
Hello, Carl.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Okay. NBA teams to begin the season with a 50-10 record or better through their first 60 games. Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
The Nets.
No.
The Bucks.
Yes.
The Bullets.
No.
The Mavericks.
Yes.
The Lakers.
Yes.
The Rockets.
No.
The Trailblazers.
Yes.
The Raptors.
No.
The Clippers.
No.
There's your winner. Good job, Carl.
Carl coming in, making it look easy. Congratulations, sir. You are a winner. Hold on. And Elijah will let you know how to get your prizes.
Carl either knows his basketball or was quick on the trigger to Google this, something you can look up pretty easily. 12 total teams have done it. The Bulls, the Sixers, and the Warriors, and I distinguished it by saying Golden State as opposed to Philadelphia Warriors, they've done it twice each. Of the 12 times it's been done, 6 won the NBA title. So 50-50 chance. If you open up the season 50-10 or better, that you're going to win the NBA title. So let me finish off, Eli, list number 1. I'll go back and do the whole list since Carl got list 2. Knicks. Eli. Knicks.
Nope.
Bulls.
Yes.
Sixers.
No.
That was a yes. Pistons.
No.
Heat.
Yes.
No. Cavaliers.
Yes.
This year. Supersonics.
No.
Spurs.
Yes.
Correct. Timberwolves.
No.
Celtics.
Yes.
Celtics is no. That's surprising. And that long storied history and all those great teams with Red Auerbach and all those national championships, I'm not sure, or NBA titles, I'm not sure how many games they played back then, but it had to be over 60. But never started 50-10 or better. But the Cavaliers did it this year, and that's why I wanted to bring that up. The Cavaliers got a 1 in 2 chance to win it all, according to these stats of teams that have started out that well.
It'll be difficult, but certainly, again, if you're good enough to get to that point, you're good enough, obviously, to win a title.
Well, we had the game the other day in which the Celtics started out on fire, blowing out Cleveland, and the Cavaliers came back and won that game. But if Boston is going to get the game they had the other night from Peyton Pritchard and White, it's going to be hard to beat when the 5th, 6th, 7th best players, put them in whatever order you want to put them in, from the Celtics are beating you. Not that they're not bad players. I mean, they're great players. I mean, Pritchard's a terrific guy, probably win the 6th man of the year. But still, to have these guys torch you, and it's not Tatum or Brown or Porzingis, that makes me wonder about the Celtics and their chances of repeating. I think they're very, very good, despite Cleveland and what type of season they are having. We talked earlier about last night in the NBA and that Lakers overtime win over the Knicks, 113-109. And I'm sure we'll find out later today the status of Jalen Brunson, who went down with that ankle injury, looked really bad in the overtime. But also last night, the Golden State Warriors were down 35-15 after one quarter to the Nets. Came back and won 121-119. Steph goes over 40 again. So Golden State continues to win and win some more since the acquisition of Jimmy Butler. All of a sudden now, they're 35-28 and 8-2 in their last 10.
The shot that Curry hit at the end of the first half was, I mean, come on, man.
It's Curry.
Like that stuff.
Come on.
I don't even know how he got it up in that direction, basically. And it just it just crazy stuff.
Well, he's got the quickest trigger in NBA history.
Over 2 people at that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like just spinning, throwing, and it goes in like it's nothing.
But you think about him, right? He's quick. There's no question about it. But if he doesn't have that quick a trigger, some of those shots, he's not getting them over the players that he goes up against. So he'll play against defenders that are 5, 6, 7 inches taller than him. But he shimmies around them or he steps back. And he's not Dirk Nowitzki stepping back at 7'1". He still has to launch it. And again, shoot 360 Memphis. If you go there, you'll be Steph Curry. No, I'm not going to do that. All right, then you
I bet they do not have you work on the shot he hit last night. Because he basically, it was shoot 180. He was doing a 180 to shoot it.
Or maybe they'll try to do, what do you call it? The recreation. They'll try to do a recreation of it. So also last night, the Rockets won. So again, the Grizzlies didn't play, but it was a bad night for the Grizzlies. Rockets won 109-97 over the Pelicans. So going into action tonight in the NBA, Thunder runaway leader in the West by 10.5 games. But it's the Lakers in second, half a game up on the Nuggets. The Nuggets are 2 up on the Grizzlies. But now the Grizzlies in fourth have a half-game lead on the Rockets. The Golden State Warriors within 3.5 of the Grizzlies. The Minnesota Timberwolves, who are the first team in the play-in, so the 7th team, first team out of the playoffs, are just 4 behind the Grizzlies. There's still 20 games to go. Now, again, the Grizzlies' schedule coming up, these next few games, you have to take advantage of it. They have the Mavericks tonight. Yes, the Grizzlies have been beaten up lately, battered and bruised. Nothing compared to the Mavericks. The Pelicans on Sunday in New Orleans. Yes, Zion's playing, but they're not a good team. They're 17-46. Then the Suns on Monday. You got them at home. It's back-to-back games. I understand that. And you just went overtime to beat the Suns the last time around. So it won't be easy, but again, you're a better team. The Suns are 29-33. These are teams that are under 500, for goodness sakes. And then the Jazz on Wednesday of next week, they're 15-47. Grizzlies have feasted on bad teams this year. So you hope that tonight they take care of business, they win in Dallas, and they go on the run and win 4 in a row going into that game against Cleveland. Let the chips fall where they may against the Cavaliers at 52-10. And then they'll play the Heat. Then after that, you're down to 14 games. So these next 4 games, I think, are extremely important because, as I said, you got teams breathing down their neck. And now all of a sudden, it is not inconceivable. I don't think it's going to happen. It is not inconceivable, though, that the Grizzlies could get caught by a couple of these teams and finish in the play-in. Like I said, it's going to be very hard to do, but they're only 4 up now in Minnesota. And they play Minnesota at least once, right?
I think they still have a game left, at least a game left against Minnesota.
I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Yes.
Yeah, they play them at the end of the year.
April 10th. April 10th. Before the Timberwolves then play the Nets and the Jazz. So again, it's not over for them yet. Minnesota, I think, for the most part, has been a bit disappointing. But that trade they made, the Karl Anthony Towns trade, Randall's a good player. DiVincenzo, healthy now, is helping him out, but it was a bad trade. Did Nico Harrison make that trade too? Anybody know? Did Nico make that trade for Karl Anthony Towns? They lost that trade, and they haven't been the same since, but they're starting lately to put things together. If the Grizzlies don't get their act together, there's teams that can catch them. but I think they'll go on a run here. I feel confident they will. And remember, some of those games, 3 in a row, came down to the wire. Could have went the other way. Didn't go in their favor. But they overall, though, they have not been playing well since the All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, again, it's the losing streak. It's awful, especially when you consider the home games. But, yeah, I mean, one possession, different. And we're talking, man, they lost to Oklahoma City, but they had, they're just fine, and they would still be in, second or right there at near second place in the conference. If, all you got to do is get the stop against the Knicks, and then the Spurs and Atlanta games are two teams you should have beaten. Those are really disappointing. Again, and you give up last second shots there. So, yeah, you easily could have won those 3 games, and then things are completely different. Because if they won those 3 games, they would be in second place still, right?
Yeah. By the way, speaking of the Knicks, and we talked about the Brunson injury, Tom Thibodeau saying it's next man up. It has to be. There's no other way to look at it. And we don't know the status of Brunson. But does that mean Cameron Payne or McBride kind of runs the point? I figure that's what they would do, right? One of those 2 guys would be moved into the starting lineup?
I'm not sure exactly what they would do, but I would guess that probably one of those guys, probably McBride.
Yeah, McBride's pretty darn good, but so's Cameron Payne, of course, the Memphian. Possibly thrust into at least, I would think, more minutes for him. They may even split some of that time with McBride if Brunson is out for any long period of time. Well, folks, as you get ready to watch these big games coming up, conference tournament games, the big dance in March, before too long, we'll have the Masters. And when you're enjoying great sporting events at home, you're kicking back and relaxing, nothing better than to dive into your favorite sweet treat. And where can you get those sweet treats? You know where. Dinstall's, for over 123 years, have been putting smiles on people's faces with their delicious, delectable, unbelievable, second to none chocolate and all their great candies. How about the Cashew Crunch, the Heavenly Crunch? I love the turtlettes and the chocolate-covered pretzels. Get your chocolate-covered basketballs as well for your parties that you have during March Madness. Don't forget the chocolate-covered fruits, the chocolate-covered strawberries, chocolate-covered grapes, the chocolate-covered pineapples. If you haven't had any of them, man, it's a combination of something sweet in the chocolate, something sweet in the fruit as well, but, something you feel pretty healthy about. Yeah, I can go for another 4 of those strawberries because I'm eating healthy. It's strawberries. Yeah, okay, whatever. Talk yourself into anything. But how can you say no to those chocolate-covered treats? You can't. And that's why people have been putting them on their tables and on their kitchen tables and wherever they're hosting those parties. They've been putting them out for their guests for all these years. So take advantage of it. You can have any of these candies and chocolates shipped anywhere in the country. But for your March Madness viewership, you're hosting some parties, you're hosting a little gathering, make sure you have some treats. Treats from Dinstall's, 5 locations. Laurelwood in East Memphis, in Collierville, they're in Germantown, downtown Memphis, and on Pleasant View. That's where they make the candies. You want to tour that factory? Ask about them. Give them a call and say you want to get a tour of the factory. Yeah, it may not be Wonka, but it's great to go there and see how the chocolates are made. It's Dinstall's Fine Candies and Chocolates. Been putting smiles on people's faces for over 123 years. We'll take a quick time out. You're tuned in to Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
luxury.
Good morning. Traffic volume increasing even more on 40 westbound coming in from Fayette County into Shelby County on 40 west from 269 all the way down to Sycamore View Road. Watching it build pretty good at times. Certain sections of Bill Morris 385 as you come inbound all the way to 240 there coming past Mount Moriah. If your yard needs some help this time of the year, you want to make it greener, look much better, call Lawn Solutions. With 30 years experience, Lawn Solutions at numbers 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Got some NFL I want to get into, and then we'll dive back fully into college basketball. The Tigers tonight taking on South Florida, and then postseason expectations for other teams around the country. Big weekend for the SEC, big Saturday. I did want to mention a follow-up to the story I had earlier about Stephen A. Smith being confronted by LeBron James. Stephen A. Smith now on his show, First Take, and I know you don't care, Eli, but this is the response to what happened when LeBron confronted him. He said today, as a father, I get it. And that's exactly what I said. I'm not offended. I'm not insulted. I don't have any animosity towards LeBron James for this. I don't think he cares, but neither do I. If I was in his position, I can't definitively say I would not have done the same thing. That's all. That's as far as it goes. Now, I'll be curious to see and hear what he says about whether Bronny James should be out of bounds, which I don't think at all. He's a basketball player. He's an NBA quasi player that he should be criticized just like LeBron James is criticized. As long as Stephen A. Smith sticks to his guns with that, which I think he probably would, then that's cool, because I understand him saying what he did about LeBron as a father. That's what I had said earlier. As a father, somebody says something about your children, Papa Bear, you're going to go after that person. So I understand LeBron in that sense, but LeBron also has to understand that people have a job to do, and criticism comes with the territory when you're playing professional basketball and you're in the spotlight, or professional sports, or whatever, entertainment it may be, music, movies. There's going to be as long as it's not personal shots. And I don't think talking about the kid's ability or inability to play basketball is a personal shot.
I will give, by the way, Bronny credit. The South Bay Lakers were just in town for 2 games against the Hustler. Now, he was not here, but his G League numbers during the regular season are good. He's averaging like 21 a game. He's shooting like 38, 39% from three-point range. So he's putting up good G League numbers.
Yeah, he's a tweener. I mean, he didn't really show himself in college in the 1 year, and just he was injured some of the time. He's a G League player, no question about it. He's not an NBA player. And again, if you say that, I understand the parent going to get mad, but that's reality. And when you also say that it's because of nepotism that he's there, then that parent, LeBron James in this case, is going to get mad. Yeah, I understand that, but it's true. I mean, I told you the exact scenario that was going to happen, and it came out exactly the way I thought it would. And he's doing exactly what I thought he would do. He's doing okay in the G League, and when he's had his opportunities at the next level, the highest level of basketball in the world, he sucked. Could he get better? Sure. Anybody can get better. I just don't have these high expectations for him. Okay, NFL. The Jaguars released tight end Evan Engram, the former Ole Miss Rebel. Man, there is some cost-cutting going on in the NFL.
Got to get below that cap. And the Jaguars, they're losing, Christian Kirk. They trade Christian Kirk. They release Evan Engram. So Trevor Lawrence is running out of targets to throw the football to quickly in Jacksonville.
Why can't you rework salaries, rework their contracts, do something like that? You're letting Ingram go. Ingram's quality. He'll be a very sought-after tight end. I would imagine free agency officially begins on Monday.
He also missed a lot of time with injury, and they drafted a tight end in the second or third round last year. So
Okay, all right. But I still think Ingram, when healthy, is a very productive tight end. Also, the Bengals, and we knew something was coming to a head here. The Bengals have granted Trey Hendrickson's request for a trade. So Hendrickson is going to have his agent look around. All he did was lead the league in sacks. More than T.J. Watt, more than Myles Garrett, more than the Bosa's, more than anybody. But with three guys who are looking to get paid, you have Jamar Chase, who's going to get paid a lot of money. T. Higgins, who they just franchised for what, second year in a row?
Yes.
Now, does this mean they get a long term with T? Probably. But it was never going to be all three like they said they were going to try to do. They knew they couldn't do all three. But they picked the two receivers. I don't know about that. If you had your druthers and you could take two out of the three, wouldn't you, even though he's quality, wouldn't you let T. Higgins walk and sign the other two?
Yeah, I mean, my guess with the Trey Hendricks, I mean, the Max Crosby deal scared them on Trey. They just don't want to pay Trey Hendrickson that type of money. So they said, hey, we're not going to resign you. Go seek a trade.
Well, if he was asking for that type of money, it's ludicrous. I mean, how many years has Hendrickson been doing this? Max Crosby has been consistently putting up numbers for years.
So it's Trey Hendrickson.
How many years, though? Has Trey been around that long in the NFL?
I'm not sure exactly how many years, but I mean, Trey Hendrickson's been doing it for a while.
Was he that good? I mean, I thought he came out of nowhere this year to lead the league in sacks. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention. But if we're talking about Max Crosby money, then yeah, okay, I can understand that. But they got to replace him. And I'm sure they'll be very active early next week when free agency begins.
I mean, Hendrickson's had 17 and a half sacks each of the last 2 years. He had 8 sacks the year before that, 14 the year before that, 13 and a half the year before that. I mean, Trey Hendrickson's been doing it for a while.
Gosh, it just doesn't seem like he was out there. Like the name was out there that much. I don't know. How many times has he been a Pro Bowler?
The last 4 years.
How about All-Pro?
He was first team this year. I think that may be his first All-Pro team.
Okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, that's my bad because I thought it was maybe 3 years. I didn't even know that he was in the league that long, producing as much as he has. But that was a situation where they were stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know, there's no way they're able to keep those three and pay them the money that they've earned and that they deserved, and be under the cap and be able to pay all the rest of the guys. And that's the dilemma that faces the NFL. Although it's a record cap number this year, the cap went up again, and it's a record. So.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you're, and you got to make decisions. Once you start paying the quarterback the money you got to pay quarterbacks now, they still want, if you're going to invest that much money in the quarterback, you still want to invest in his targets. So you say, okay, well, we're going to spend this money. Obviously, Jamar Chase is you're going to have to make him probably the highest paid receiver. Do you give up and just say, all right, we're going to not pay a second target? Well, that's a tough decision to make. But again, and I think they might have went that way if Crosby hadn't set the market where he did for Hendrickson, and they said, man, we're just not going to go to that level with a defensive end.
San Francisco is going to be in an interesting situation. They have already traded Deebo Samuel. What to do, because Brock Purdy now has to be paid. And the rumor was that the offer on the table was $45 a year, and that the agent wants 50, 51, something like that. I might be wrong with those numbers, but I believe it was 45 that maybe is on the table. But then you got to figure out, what are you doing with Trent Williams? You've had some issues with that. McCaffrey coming off the injury. I mean, you're still paying. You just upped with Ayuk, right? That was an issue last year, and you got that settled. Kittle, you got to pay Kittle big money. So San Francisco's in a situation as well, because now they got to pay their quarterback. That's why, as you talk about all the time in the NFL, what's advantageous is to have one of these young quarterbacks who end up being really, really good, and then you milk it while they're not being paid, and you have success, and then you decide whether you can keep them at a relatively team-friendly price or let them go and then try to do it all over again. It's like recycled quarterbacks. If it works out that way, it works out that way. I mean, obviously, it's worked out for a few of these teams, and for San Francisco, had some success with Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, until last year, unfortunately for them, they had a lot of bad luck with injuries.
Yeah, I mean, they were set up as good as you could have been. I mean, when you're talking about a guy drafted that late and the salary he gets on that rookie deal, I mean, that was a great opportunity for them. And they somewhat cashed in, but didn't get all the way there. But, yeah, I mean, just go down the list of the quarterbacks who teams have won Super Bowls with quarterbacks on rookie deals. I mean, the Eagles now, they're going to lose a whole bunch of their defensive players. They're sorting through right now which of those guys, and they just got Vaughn re-signed, and it's sorting through that of which ones we can afford and which ones we're going to have to say goodbye to. You're paying, the cap keeps going up, and yes, you can afford to pay some more guys now, but there still has to be casualties, especially when you win a Super Bowl, and now all of those guys are seeking even more money because they were a big part of a Super Bowl champion, so they feel like they're worth it. And teams will feel like they're worth it.
Story came out this morning that Myles Garrett requested a meeting with Browns owner Jimmy Haslam to discuss his situation, and the owner outright refused to meet with him. So that's getting ugly in Cleveland. What about Minnesota? Do you truly believe they want to re-sign Darnold? And if so, what are we talking about money-wise?
I think they would re-sign him if the price is right. I don't know where that price range is for them, but I think if everything was right on the price, they would bring him back.
I wonder what the price is for a starting veteran quarterback. I'm not talking about the top tier. Like, what is the low bar for a starting veteran quarterback? Like, Sam Darnold is not in the same boat as a second team or third team guy that's been around the league for a while. He's now proven himself this past year, but you're not going to pay him the money you're paying Josh Allen, the money you're paying Lamar Jackson, or
he's going to be in the
Pat Mahomes.
I'm sure he's. I don't know. I mean, his age, but my guess is he's going to be in that $45 to $50 million range.
Again, if you're in that range, I wonder if that financially straps you or not. Because they have, as you know, in the wings, waiting, J.J. McCarthy, which goes back to what we said of what you want, right? You want a quarterback on his rookie deal, but you don't know if this guy's going to be really good. You think he's going to be good. To me, this tells me, after Darnold's year, even though he had the collapse in the playoffs, is that they're not 100% sold on McCarthy. And they have the players right now to make a run. And they made a run last year. So that's why I always thought, why wouldn't you bring Darnold back and run it back again? But then McCarthy's sitting there going, what the hell, man? Give me my opportunity.
Yeah, and I don't know where McCarthy is health-wise right now, so I don't know. I assume he's going to be fine to go for the season, all that, but I have no idea where exactly McCarthy is health-wise.
All right, we'll take a break. Our final break. We'll come back. We'll talk college basketball. Again, the Tigers in action tonight, and also the big SEC Saturday. It's all coming up next when we continue here on the program. This is Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli on Real Sports Talk, Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Big Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Memphis is a 13.5-point favorite tonight in their game against South Florida with the total 151.5. The Tigers do not usually cover. This is a pretty big number, even though it's a mediocre South Florida team that you're playing at home. I have a feeling the Tigers are going to cover tonight.
Senior night, final game of the season, I would hope they could cover that number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting you take your hard-earned money and bet on it, but I would think that there's a good opportunity tonight for Memphis to win and win big, honor these seniors, hopefully a really, really good crowd, clinch the American Conference regular season title outright. Should be a fun night at FedEx Forum. And then, as I said earlier, you got plenty of time. You got a week to get ready for your quarterfinal round game at Dickies Arena in Fort Worth in the American Conference Tournament.
Had somebody text in, they asked, what is the AAC ticket purchase structure for getting tickets for the days the Tigers play and not the entire tournament? Well, you should be able to buy individual session tickets for the Tigers sessions. I would contact the university and ask them about that. Or you can go through, I guess, the conference, but you should be able to buy just the sessions that the Tigers play in, tickets for those sessions, and not buy the entire tournament package.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they always offer that by session, so there's 2 games in the session. And I would imagine that, like you said, contact the university, the ticket box office. I'm surprised they haven't sent out information yet, but I guess they're waiting for the regular season to be completed and everything to be made official for the American Conference Tournament next week. But yes, I think you can. And in fact, don't they want you to buy them through the university if you can? Well, or is that just bowl games?
I mean, if you go through the university, I'm not sure if there's any benefit necessarily for the university, but if you're going through the university, you're going to get tickets with other Tiger fans, like a Memphis section, that type of thing.
Right.
So I would think there might be that advantage for going through. I don't know if there's any other advantage for going through them for the conference tournament games or not.
I was asked earlier about the American Conference and what are the chances that some of these other teams make it to the NIT. We know that the NIT is a 32-team tournament. They have done away with the rule that they put in not that many years ago. It hadn't been around all the time, but the rule had been recently, up through, I want to say last year, that if you win these are basically for smaller conferences, you win your regular season title and lose in your conference tournament, you get to the NIT because the conference tournament winner goes to the NCAA and you're going to be a one-bid league. So it's basically for all the one-bid leagues. And then that team would go to the NIT. That's done. The NIT, because I remember when this story came out and we were like, oh man, more for the rich, right? More chances, more opportunities. And you were doing some research during a break. And what was it you said about the SEC compared to like what could happen in the NIT?
Well, the NIT, originally they were going to guarantee 2 spots to each of the power conferences. So it'd be your top 2 teams, not selected based on power rankings, a bunch of different rankings they use. And whichever the top 2 teams are that don't go to the NCAA tournament would get automatic bids into the NIT.
Did they include the Big East as a power?
Then they got rid of the Big East, the Big 12, and the Big 10 because those 3 are they have the new crown of college basketball tournament that they are tied to that's going to be out in Vegas. It's a 16-team tournament, and those leagues are giving their top 2 teams to that tournament. So the NIT then said, well, you don't get any automatic bids. So now it's just the ACC and the SEC of the power conferences that get the 2 automatic bids into the NIT. So the top 2 teams not going to the NCAA tournament are automatically in the NIT. Well, in the SEC, with the way it is going this year, if they get the 13 or possibly 14 teams in, either LSU or South Carolina or both with a losing record would be automatically qualified for the NIT. I don't see anything in here that says you have to have a 500 record to take one. I don't see it. Maybe there is a rule in there that they have that you actually have to have a 500 record in order to get one of those automatic bids. But I do not see that anywhere in the announcement that they made. So, again, if at least 13 teams get in, one of those 2 has to go to the NIT. And it would be, LSU right now is at 14 and 16. I guess theoretically they could get to 500, but they'd have to win a couple of games or whatever. So, if all 14 of the others got in, you would have LSU and South Carolina. South Carolina, who's 12 and 18 right now, would be playing in the NIT and would host a game. Because if you're one of the automatics, you get to host a first-round game.
Again, the rich get richer.
There's also an automatic bid for the top 12 conferences based on Ken Palm's conference ratings. Each of those conferences will get 1 automatic bid to the NIT. So there's 16 automatic bids to the NIT.
Okay, where's the American in those rankings of the conferences?
I don't know, but I assume.
Can you look that up, Elijah?
I assume they're top 12.
I would think they're like maybe 10 or 11, but they would be. So.
And then this
is confusing.
The former rule still somewhat applies. If you are a regular season champion and don't win your conference tournament, you don't get into the NCAA tournament. If you have an average of 125 or better, again, across the a bunch of rankings, Ken Palm, Torvik, the WAB, Net, BPI, all that. If you're 125 or better and were a regular season conference champion, but don't get in to the NCAA, you are then into the NIT. But you have to be 125 or better to get one of those spots.
There's not going to be a test on
That's
this.
That's on top of the 16 automatic qualifiers.
Okay. Wait, so Elijah, you looked that up?
Yeah, this hasn't been updated for a few weeks, I will say, but
weeks.
right now the American Conference would be 10th in conference.
Yeah, that's what I figured, 10th or 11th. So right now in the NIT, there's 32 teams, 16 are automatic. One of those would be an automatic American Conference team. So right now, let's say it finishes off, Memphis wins it, and all that, it would be North Texas if they stayed ahead. So North Texas would be the representative, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't be another team from the American that would be part of the other 16, unless it's filled up by those teams you talked about that don't win the conference tournament in the one bid leagues, but win the regular season title. Then you mentioned the Crown event. That is 16 teams out in Vegas.
Yes.
And 3 leagues have automatics, 2 automatics. So that's 6 of their 16. Again, they're finding ways and means for more of these power conference schools that are bad or have a bad season in basketball to play in the postseason. What about
by the way, the NIT, the chair of the NIT committee? Do you know who that is?
I do not.
Well, Tim Duncan.
It's Tim Duncan? Mm-hmm. Tim, I think, is going to be on the show next week, so we'll talk to him about it.
He is the chair of the NIT committee. One of the new members for this year of that committee is Tubby Smith.
Good to hear his name still mentioned in relevancy now. I thought Tubby was golfing and retired and not doing anything. So that's good.
Well, he's on the NIT committee. I'm sure he is golfing a lot.
Well, true.
He's on. I don't.
But I thought he was
the NIT committee. I don't think it's a year-round job. He's really putting 40 hours a week into.
I know. But I thought he was strictly golfing, like 100%, and being with his family.
He
but
is,
his
except
wife.
for few days a year when he gets together in a room and says, "I don't care who. It's the NIT. Put those teams in."
Touche. So, I wonder, can a team turn down if they are an automatic? Right? We talked about these automatics to the NIT. Could they still turn it down? You know how some of these teams don't want to go to the NCAA? I mean, if they don't get in the NCAA tournament, they don't want to play. But we've never had these automatics involving power conferences. Like, is that going to sit well with Greg Sankey when he has 2 spots that go into the NIT and one or both of them say no to it?
I don't know that they would say no to it.
Yeah, I wonder if he said no. If you get the call, you're in. You're playing. So there is an outside possibility.
Yeah, you're going to get to host a game. So
there is an outside possibility, Eli. I don't think it's going to happen. That every single team in the SEC plays in the postseason.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. If these 2 teams get to the NIT, then yes.
Right. Well, that would be 14 in the NCAA. I don't think they're getting 14. I think they're probably going to get 12, maybe 13. But it's a possibility that they all get in. Wow. Isn't that crazy?
And I'm guessing when the NIT put this together, they were not thinking that those automatic qualifiers from those power conferences would be below 500. They probably thought, no, there's enough teams in those that there certainly will have teams that are above 500 that will be the next 2 teams that don't make the NCAA tournament.
Oh, no question about it. Who could have thunk it, right, that the SEC would have this type of historic season? And, Elijah, you said that the CIT and the CBI are still in existence?
They are still going on as of last year, at least.
I know there's 350-something teams in Division I. They're not all playing postseason in postseason tournaments, but before too long, maybe one day they will be. All right, again tonight, you got the Grizzlies in action. They'll be playing in Dallas. The Tigers in action against South Florida. Hopefully, it should be, I think, a big night for Memphis basketball. We shall see. We'll talk about it, obviously, on Monday when we're back here bright and early at 7 a.m. Of course, Matt Reiser will join us with the Tiger Baseball Report. The Tigers, a big 3-game home series over at FedEx Park, Avron Fogelman Field, starting today at 4:05 as they'll take on Matt's former school, Southeastern Louisiana. That'll do it for us today and this week. I want to thank Matt Dillon, John Varlas for joining us on the program today. Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 is just ahead. For Eli Savoy and for Elijah Seegers, I'm Greg Gaston. Have a great weekend, everyone.